Good evening, folks. I'm D.A. Roberts. Thank you for joining us on the second edition of the Zombie Authors Roundtable. We have a rather large collection of people tonight. We have Alan Gamboa, Jeff Thomson, Bethany, Stutsman, Hagardt, Scott Baker, Joseph Hansen, Shawn and Stephen Kenny, and others may be joining us as we go along. I'm D.A. Roberts, the author of the Ragnarok Rising Saga and several cryptid series. But I'm going to go around the table and let everybody introduce themselves and give us a little bit of background. So, Alan, if you want to start us out. Alan, you're muted. Oh, we just lost Alan. Okay. All right. Jeff, I guess you're up. We'll get Alan back.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, fine. I'm Jeff Thomson. I am the author of the Guardians to the Apocalypse series, nice zombie series set in Hawaii, the Pressure series, and a number of standalone novels. And I do podcasts in the written horrors and weird realities.
Awesome. Joe, how about yourself, sir?
Oh, Joe Hansen. I've written the Zombie Rush series, which is 4 books, and the 5 Roads to Texas saga. I've got 3 books following that, and write sci-fi. I'm a multi-genre author from Minnesota, and spend on my life writing and going to work. Pretty good life, though.
Well, you can't complain about that.
No.
Scott, you're up.
Hi, I'm Scott M. Baker. I'm the author of the Nurse Alyssa versus the Zombie series. I've also written the Rada World series, several short zombie novellas, and several other horror books.
Awesome. Bethany, your turn.
Bethany Stutsman. I write the Highway of the Dead series, Uprising, and I also write the Gabby Jones Supernatural Mystery series.
Awesome. Shawn?
Hey, I'm Shawn Chesser. I'm author of Surviving the Zombie Apocalypse series. I just published book 15 and also Riker's Apocalypse, up to 3 books right now. I live in Portland, Oregon with my wife of almost 30 years and 2 teenagers.
And Stephen.
Hi, I'm Stephen Kenny. I'm the author of Infection Rise of the Undead series, currently writing book 2 and a few books based on the characters, just short stories.
Awesome. We lost Alan. He has not made it back yet. So I guess we'll just continue on without him and hope he makes it back before too terribly long. Who would like to start us out tonight? And we can drop your links and you can talk about current projects. And we're also already starting getting some comments from the peanut gallery, so to speak. Anyone else disappointed that Jeff isn't wearing a Hawaiian shirt? I almost wore one.
I've got one. I could go get it.
Well, manners being what they are, we'll go with ladies first. So, Bethany, go ahead and start out, and I will drop your links in the chat.
Well, I actually have it right here. I've got Highway of the Dead. That was my premiere book, Uprising. I have Highway of the Dead Sabotage in editing right now, so that'll be coming out pretty soon. I have Gabby Jones, paranormal, kind of supernatural mysteries, kind of a Monster of the Week type book. So if you like X-Files, if you like supernatural, it's kind of one of those type books where just every book's a different monster they have to deal with. So that's kind of fun. I live in Tucson, Arizona, so super hot down here. I DoorDash for extra cash, which is kind of fun. I get to listen to audiobooks from everyone else and music. And I've got 2 cats and 2 stepkids and a good boyfriend. So that's kind of it. I don't really have much else.
What book are you currently working on?
I'm finishing up Highway of the Dead Sabotage. And then I also work whenever I feel like it on the Gabby Jones.
Okay. Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Shawn, I just happened to look down and picked you, so you're next.
Sure thing. Well, I don't have any props. My Dead Tree books I don't keep many on my shelves. I'll order soon. But I wrote Trudge, book 1 in my Surviving the Zombie Apocalypse series back in 2010. And it just happenstance, I guess, serendipity. The Omega virus came from the Hubei province in China, Wuhan, China. So it's kind of strange. It was actually released from the facility, and use it or lose it. The Chinese Communist Party sent agents over to seed the United States. So book 15, Fury, kind of delves back into that. The Chinese have occupied the United States partially, and we're fighting back tooth and nail. And the Chinese have a dirty secret that's coming out, and that's what the book revolves around: trying to figure out what's going on and stop it before it happens. Second series, relatively new. I'm writing book 4 right now called The Plea. It's Riker's Apocalypse series. Riker is was a driver in the Army, and he's kind of been out of the military for a while. He's an amputee, and he suffers from concussion syndrome, so he's prone to some mood swings now and again. He's my protagonist, and a notable character in the book is a fellow with Down syndrome. He's modeled after my real life cousin, Steve Piontek. And so Steve in the book, he's a bit of comedy relief, but also kind of just a soul that doesn't exactly know what's going on, but he's adapting, and he's improvising, and he's overcoming. So I enjoy writing, and I do it for a full time, and I've got 2 teenagers. My wife is a nurse here in Portland, Oregon. Yes, I live in Portland, Oregon, but we stay away from downtown, so we're safe. Other than that, I don't know what else to add.
Well, that's probably good for now. Everybody dropped your links, and that's what I'm doing is each time everybody comes up in the big screen, I'm putting their links in the chat so everybody gets their links out. And once we do that, we'll just leave all the windows the same size, and we'll just start round robining questions, if that sounds good to everybody. Jeff, you're up, buddy.
Okay. The Guardians of the Apocalypse series is based on the idea that all these military-based zombie books were all involving special forces, SEAL teams, the Marines, something like that. It was always some, super warrior, superhero military person. And I was in the Coast Guard for 14 years, and if the Coast Guard was even mentioned in these books, it was either as a butt of a joke or as an afterthought. And I thought, well, I know these guys, they're insane. I'd love to have them at my back in a zombie apocalypse. So I started writing, and I'm now about to release book number 6, Apocalypse Zombie, which comes out on the 29th.
Sounds awesome.
And it takes place in Hawaii.
Oh, outstanding. Even better. Zombies in Paradise.
Mhm.
Alan, we lost you for a bit. You didn't even get to introduce yourself, so we'll let you go ahead.
I had to switch computers. My other one crapped out. My name's Alan Gamboa. I write the Dead Island Operation Zulu series with Joe Hansen. I'm part of the 5 Roads to Texas series with W.J. Lundy, Rich Baker, Brian Parker, A.J. Powers, and J.L. Bourne, kind of. He wrote the foreword. I've got the standalone novel Zombie Island. And I host Watching Weird with Jeff Thomson, where we review all kinds of movies, preferably horror, zombie movies, but we step our toes into different genre. And also, recently we interviewed Glenn Miller, the director of Zombies 2, Aquarium of the Dead, and a whole slew of other B movies. And he was second director on like 90 other ones, which you've all probably seen one movie at least that he's done. That's a new thing for Jeff and I. We're just trying to branch out into this.
Yep.
That's it.
Joe, you're up, sir.
See, I'm in the middle of reworking my Zombie Rush series and my first book, Splinter, which I actually released like the same day that Alan released his Zombie Island.
Mhm.
Was it Zombie Island, Alan? Yeah, I think it was.
Dead Island. It was Dead Island.
Dead Island, that was it. And so I've got Splinter, I've got 4 books in Zombie Rush, and then I've got 2 more in the Kind of Dog series that are all connected, and I'm in the middle of putting that together, and it all wraps up with the zombies and the 4 horsemen and a lot of gun shooting. And other than that, I've always got someone of the Five Roads to Texas books going. You know, that's about infected taking over, and instead of the Chinese, we did North Korea and some Middle Eastern country. I can't remember which. Whoever we hated that one. Really. So, and we're doing that with Brian Parker, and Brian Parker has actually been very, very prolific in this series. And it's been a lot of fun, learning experience. You know, of course, we all bow to the Big Daddy Lundy, but that's just how it's gotta have it.
Well, thank you,
You
Joseph.
know, writing has always had to be a hobby for me because I've always worked full time. You know, there's too many benefits out there, and you know, I enjoy working. I've been a carpenter. I was a sawyer. I owned my own sawmill for a while. Made hardwood floor from the very tree it was grown in, and so I'm really kind of a small town craftsman that likes to kick back and chill here in Minnesota and do a lot of fishing. Other than that, there's really no mystery.
Sounds good. We got a latecomer to the party. If I can get the camera over there. There we go. Sylvester, glad you could join us, man. Thank you for coming in.
Hey guys, sorry. Yeah, I was having computer trouble.
No problem.
My name is Sylvester Barzey. I write the Planet Dead series. It basically, we went to Mars and we came back with a zombie virus that infects the whole world. America is isolated from all its allies. We built the wall, so we're basically stuck inside of our country, infected with zombies. And my main character is Catherine Briggs. She's a former Army lieutenant, and she's like Sarah Connor for the apocalypse with zombies.
Nice.
Yeah.
It sounds really good, man.
Thank you.
Scott, how about you go ahead and go next?
I'm Scott Baker, former CIA officer, 23 years experience, now happily retired in New Hampshire. My most popular series at the moment is The Nurse Alyssa versus the Zombies. It's up to book 7. I'm working on book 8, and it's probably going to go at least to 10 or 11 novels. I've also been working on the my Tatiana versus the Ghost series. The first one, Ghosts of Eden Hollow, came out a few months ago. And tomorrow is released The Ghosts of Salem Village, which works in the history of the Salem witchcraft trials with paranormal activity. I'm also currently working on 2 projects, a top secret zombie project that will tie into Nurse Alyssa, and I'm about to finish up my first post-apocalyptic non-zombie novel, Frozen World, which I'm hoping to get out in about September.
Sounds really cool.
Thanks.
Stephen, we lost you there for a minute, but we got you back.
Disappeared there, eyes knocked off. I'm Stephen Kenny. I'm currently working on book 2, the Infection Rise of the Undead series, and I'm doing a couple of character books at the same time, trying to kind of work the 2 of them out so that I can get them out at roughly maybe about a month apart, just instead of a long wait. One of the character books is one of the characters. It's actually going to be a first person, which most of the series is, and it's through the eyes of a girl this time, and I've not got a clue how I'm going to work this one out, but it's going to be quite kind of weird trying to do it through that way instead of a big butch guy or whatever. And I've got a couple of books I'm going to be doing with another author soon, so I'm going to just go to cover back for one of them. And we're not going to do it like writing it at the same time or anything like that. We're going to just write a book each, and just most of them might be standalones, so just do it that way.
Sounds really good.
Hey, can you say book again? Come on, Stephen, say book.
Book.
He speaks the King's English. Remember that.
Well, that is the introductions that we wanted to make. Everybody's links are now in the chat. So if you're checking this show out tonight, I appreciate you guys joining us. You'll be able to link to everybody's works that have made it so far, and hopefully we'll have a few others join us before the end of the night is out. And I just thought we would start. Alan Gamboa is my co-host for this evening, and Alan and I just thought we'd start by asking a few questions. Alan, if you want to start, you can go right ahead.
Okay. We have number one, but I'm going to go with this one. Okay, we'll start with Stephen, and we'll just go across and down. What is the most disgusting scene in your book that you've written?
It's probably one where I've got giant snails in the book, and I still need to figure out how they come about, because it's obviously no zombies. They're snails, but they're massive. They're the size of bigger than maybe a wheel. And there's this. I got the scene done into an actual picture. I've got the picture yet, and an artist done the picture for me. And it's the two snails. They've totally slimed this woman, and they've ripped her apart. Basically, her arms. One of them standing with its arm, and it's well, the two guys run in the door, and it's just annihilated this woman. And it's the guy that done the picture for it done it brilliant. It's quite graphic.
I'd love to see the picture.
Yeah, that's a first. Okay, DA, how about you?
The grossest scene. I didn't really expect to be asked too many questions. I thought we'd be asking the questions. I think there's a couple of scenes where I graphically describe heads coming apart. I'd say probably that, because I can get pretty wordy with that, using words like chunky red rain and things like that.
Sounds like a soup.
Yeah,
that's good.
Brain gumbo.
How about you, Shawn?
Yeah, early in one of my my books in the Surviving the Zombie Apocalypse series, I have a character who's not really, he's the only child. He doesn't like authority. He's a Bureau of Land Management firefighter, hotshot. And he's stuck in an Air Force base with some of the other characters, and he wants to get out. He does sneak out. He's running. He was a high school runner. And he doesn't see this massive grave where they're burying the zombie corpses. And he runs headlong into this huge grave. And he's pushing through stomach cavities, and it's shifting underneath him. There's the gases coming out. And as he's steadying himself to get back to the edge, he starts hearing the moaning start. They're not all dead. There's still a few stragglers in there that weren't double tapped or whatever. It was pretty fun to write that. I gave me the heebie-jeebies when I was writing it. So that's about
Can you imagine trying to explain that when you run back to the guards? You're covered in zombie slime. I'm not dead. I'm not dead.
Yeah. He continued on to get to his place, and he got his stuff he needed, and he snuck back into the base. So, yeah.
I just assume everybody smelled bad. In the apocalypse, everybody's going to smell bad. How about you, Bethany?
Worse than the inside of a zombie mass grave. Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, that was awesome. How about you, Bethany?
I feel like I have to step up my game. I guess my book's not as descriptive as those. Mine is more of just, I kind of disturbed my ex-husband when I asked him how many hits with a crowbar a 14-year-old would need to crack a skull, and he was like, "You're really disturbing me right now."
My wife wouldn't bat an eye. She'd go one if you hit him hard.
Yeah, well, there's a reason he's my ex, so no. But no, I don't really have any descriptive ones in terms of that much. I guess I have the usual, just brain matter everywhere and splatter and gore. So
yeah, that's good enough. Mm. How about you, Sylvester? I know you got something because you're a Romero fan. Big time.
I think in book 3, there's this whole kind of Mad Max dome fight with Catherine and a giant zombie that has axes welded to his hands. So we call him the Axeman. And I think the goriest thing about him is when he opens up his mouth to lick her, you see maggots that are drilling in and out of his tongue. And he just reeks because he's dead and swinging axes, and every time his skin rips open, more maggots fall out. So I do that.
That's pretty gross. There's not enough soap in the apocalypse. I know that. How about you, Jeff? I know you got something, Jeff.
Oh yeah. Actually, my latest one. Towards the end of the book, the ground team has to walk through a pile of what used to be zombies that had just recently been taken out with a 50 caliber machine gun. So they have to walk through the, bits of torso and bones and skull and brains and blood and goo and good fun.
Nice. Joe, I know you got to have a blood eagle or something years being that Viking. What do you got?
I actually don't kill zombies in my book. I prefer to sign them up for therapy. And I think the most shocking scene I have would be Zombie Rush 2, when there's a psychotic doctor. They call him Skinner for obvious reasons. And he catches her by surprise and straps her to a table, and then decides that he's a rib man. So he takes one of her ribs and cooks it up on a hot plate. And not only does he eat some of it himself, but he tries to feed it to her. That was pretty graphic. And
No, that's good enough. That's good enough. And now, Scott, I know you can go pretty dark, so I know you've got something.
Last book in my Rada World series, Rada Apocalypse. I have one of the female characters and a little kid. They find shelter in this old man's house. He runs a farm. And a horde of zombies start crossing the field. And the only weapon he has to fight them is a harvester. So I've got this long, drawn-out scene where he's just back and forth across the field, chewing them up. But every time the bodies block the machinery, she has to crawl down and pull arms and heads and torsos out while shooting zombies so he can continue mowing them down.
You all are some sick people.
Thank you.
And that's why we love it.
I don't know how you all sleep at night.
Very well.
Go, Alan.
My wife, who sleeps beside me, keeps an eye on me all night, but I
I just have to have a fan on.
Yeah, me too. I think mine was in Zombie Island, where one of the main characters doesn't have a weapon, and he's got zombies on the beach, and he's got zombie on top of him, and he sticks his fingers into the zombie's eye socket up into as far as he can get into his brain, and just kill it. And he's disgusted in his mind. He's thinking, if I ever play the game grossest thing, I'll win. But
Isn't it cool that people pay us for this shit?
Yeah.
Is this a zombie club or group therapy? Well, I'll toss the next question out. We'll just go around the room like everybody. Stephen, if you had to bug out, where would you go?
Where I am, that's quite we're in the middle of nowhere sort of thing. It's a wee town, and about 10 minutes from where I am, you're going right up into kind of mountains and stuff. So there's plenty of, like, Loch Lomond. Have you heard of Loch Lomond, obviously?
Yeah.
I'm only about 20 minutes from there, and there's plenty of places all the way around it that just like that. You're probably talking like an hour or two for each town. So it's it's no far away from towns, but it's an hour's quite a good in Scotland. It's quite far.
Well, as long as you got a good place in mind. Shawn, how about you?
I can't tell you because of OPSEC. Sorry. No.
Yeah.
We're lucky here in Oregon. The coast is right over here, 60 miles to the mountains, high deserts, not too far. I've got all kinds of options. So I would try to gauge where everyone's going and go where they're not.
Probably a good call. It's like here in Springfield, everybody says if something bad happened, they'd head for Bass Pro. That is literally the last place I would go because that's where everybody's going. Bethany, what about you? Where would you go to bug out?
Here in Tucson, we've got Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. So that would, of course, now that I think about that, everyone's probably going to go there. So I probably shouldn't go to that one. But we also have a town in the mountains next to us called Summerhaven. And it's a very small town with cabins, general store, everything. So that might be pretty good, pretty well defendable, and only one road up. So pretty.
That's
pretty
even
easy to
better.
defend. Yeah.
If you can control the entrance and the exits, it's even better.
Yep.
Sylvester, what about you? Where would you bug out to?
I have absolutely no idea. So it'd probably be the end of me. I'll probably go looking for, like, you always see those fancy bunkers, or like there's like this whole place that's built into the side of the mountain, and people are like, this is where I would get. Yeah, I'd actually go and try and find one of those and see if I could actually do that.
That'd be a
I
little
don't
tough
think
to find them. They don't
anyone's
exactly put them on the map.
I know, right? But I mean, I just don't think like it's built and that's supposed to be their bug out place. But I don't think they're actually gonna go there. Shit's gonna hit the fan. They won't make it. I will.
Alan, what about you, bub?
After I curled up in a ball and cried for an hour or two, my wife actually, her and her sisters have some property on the Klamath. They got a shared a few acres there, so that's where we always plan to head if that happens. But it's getting there from here to there, which is like a 6 or 7 hour drive. That would be the major thing. But it's the ocean's close to there. You got the Klamath River,
Food sources, water sources.
Yeah, you got a bunch of you could live there comfortably. I don't know if I could, but you could.
I don't think I could see you laying on the ground crying for that long, because I'm sure your wife would be slapping you long before then.
Yeah. That's the only thing to keep me from doing that would be her slapping me.
Yeah, wake up!
Let me have the car keys.
Exactly. Jeff, what about you? Where would you bug out to?
Well, I live in Vegas, and I don't know how many movies there are that Vegas is ground zero for the Zombie. So I'm basically screwed. However, there is a house here in town that's built on top of its own luxury bunker. So I'd be headed there.
That would be a good one if you could take it.
I'm going with Jeff.
Yeah, good luck. Joseph, what about you? Where would you bug out to?
Probably to a town of between 10 and 40,000 people. I'd use heavy equipment, set up some barricades, fight back. I don't run well. I got a replaced hip, and I'm fat, but I like to eat and I like to shoot. So I could do that behind a steel wall. So I just get in a front end loader, clear whatever street I want to do, because there isn't any kind of flesh that's going to stand up against heavy equipment. Find somebody in a Bobcat, go clear ourselves a little space, have some fried chicken, and drink some beer.
Oh, that sounds like it'd be a great time. You'd be like that Captain Killdozer guy.
There you go.
Scott, where would you go to?
Well, I'm lucky. I live about 15 minutes west of Concord, New Hampshire. It is the most populated. It's the most northern populated city. I would head north. Back roads, very little traffic. I'd find myself a place in the mountains, hopefully near like a lake or a river where I could do fishing, and I just spend the apocalypse there.
That's not a bad choice. Thomas Whitney says Disneyland, no entrance fee, and free rides, tons of food stored, and plenty of buildings to hide in.
Yeah, but Thomas, if you get stuck in the It's a Small World ride, that's what you gotta listen to for the all eternity.
Can you imagine being pursued by the zombie 7 dwarves with those giant heads?
Zombie Goofy.
But it would make a great fight scene in a movie.
You're shooting it in the head, and the actual head of the person's like much lower than the head.
This family Robinson would be defensible up in the tree.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Yeah, seize the boat and then just hope the pirates don't start eating the tourists. Alan, you want to go to the next question? Or you want me to?
No, I'll grab it. Okay, favorite zombie rider. Let's go with this one. Let's mix it up. Can't speak right now. Scott. Let's go with Scott first. Favorite zombie rider. It could be indie, it could be trade, could be a cereal box zombie rider.
All right, this is going to sound like I'm pandering, but I've got two of them that I love the books. David Simpson's Zombie Road. A friend of mine got me hooked on that. That was addictive. And Jeff's got into the Apocalypse series.
Nice.
Good choices.
Nice.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
choices.
Thank you.
Good choices. Solid. How about you, Joe? Do you read?
I do read, and I listen too. To Audible more than anything. Keith Blackmore. Nothing stands against Mountain Man series in my book.
Very good.
It was intense from beginning to end.
That's a good choice. How about you, Jeff?
I was just trying to look up the name of the guy. The guy who wrote World War Z. I can't think of his
Max
name.
Brooks.
Max
Brooks.
Brooks.
Max Brooks. Max Brooks. Although I got to go with Scott and his Nazi ghouls from outer space.
Nice.
That was
Nice.
very cool.
Nice. Just the title itself, you know?
Oh yeah, it's how can you go wrong?
Yeah. How about you, Sylvester?
I'm really liking Jonathan Mayberry's stuff lately. I've
good.
just now found him, so I'm really enjoying that. And the author that made the Slow Burn series, I forget his name.
Oh, Bobby Adair.
Yeah, Bobby Adair. I like his stuff too.
That's good. Solid. How about you, Bethany?
I don't really have a favorite because I think everyone kind of brings a unique perspective.
How about a
But
go-to?
right- Yeah,
Go-to.
like the one that I'm reading right now that I'm just kind of hooked on the series. So as soon as I finish one book, I'm like searching for the next one. It's Nicholas Sansbury Smith, his Extinction series.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of cool. I like it.
I love the covers. I haven't
Yeah.
read any of this stuff, but I love the covers on them.
He has a nice blend of like a military with non-military. So like even if you know nothing about military stuff, you can still read the book, follow along, but you still kind of feel like you're in it too. So he does a good
Cool.
job.
Nice. How about you, Shawn?
Yeah, I think the first couple of books that got me into reading zombie stuff, Z.A. Wrecked, the Morning Star series. He's passed, unfortunately.
Good series.
Yeah. Also, J.L. Bourne. You got to say Day by Day. I bought that at Barnes and Noble off the shelf and then just tore through it.
You know,
I don't have one favorite, but I got a lot of favorites. I mean, Max Brooks, the different stories, the Sub Commander, I wish some of those would have made it to the movie, which wasn't even really World War Z. And then lastly, I think Joe McKinney was probably one of the first authors that I picked up his books on the Kindle and whatnot and read.
You know what I like about his? He had a good ending. Joe is really good. I like Joe, Shawn. How about you, DA?
Well, you know, I've got so many different authors that I like. Yeah, you and Shawn are two of my tops. Because you got the way you guys do action. I love the way you guys do action. I'd put you guys up there with anybody. I like J.L. Bourne. I love the way he writes. I like Jonathan Mayberry. He's a fantastic writer. I mean, I've read a lot of fantastic writers, but the ones that stand out to me are the ones that do military style action well. So that's why you and Shawn are both pretty well tops in my book.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Stephen?
I would say I've got three that I read the series every couple of years. Joseph Toluto, he done the White Flag of the Dead series. It's first person, and that's what kind of got me into doing first person. The way he does it's quite. I like the way he does the first person in that. So I would say him. I like Rhiannon Frater as well. The As the World Dies series. It's I think there's a new book that she just put a fourth one out not long ago there, and I've only read the first three, but so I'll need to get the fourth one. And the other one's a British writer, David Moody. He done the Autumn series. It's there's about 9 of them, I think, but they're quite good. He's just put a new one out as well, so I like him.
Those are all solid. All, these are all your answers. Especially DA's. They're all solid. All solid answers. Man, there's so many out there. Brian Keene got me started reading his The Rising, and J.L. Bourne was like the second one I read. So yeah, those are two ones that I like to go to when I can't find anything. But thanks for the answers, folks. That was great.
Next question, I would go with, let's see. Well, building on that question he just asked, knowing what your favorite authors are, which is your favorite book? Which is your favorite zombie book? And Stephen, we'll start with you, bud.
Favorite zombie book? Read that many now. I'm trying to think. I would maybe go for Rhiannon Frater's As the World Dies series. Actually, I've read that about 3 times now, and it's one of the ones that I can just keep going. But I've yet to read a single zombie book, if you know what I mean, like a standalone. Apart from, is there one called? Oh, what's it? I heard about one called Rise or something like that, and it's a standalone. I just can't remember who it is. Does it? I'll need to look it up now. Is it? No, I can't remember. I think it is actually. I think it's that. But
That's a good book.
is that a standalone?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure. It's a good book, though. I mean, it ends that way.
I'll need to read that one because I've never read any standalones at all, and it's all been series I've read.
That's series are as good as calling it a book. There's some series it's really just one story from the beginning to end anyway, so easily you can name a series.
Exactly.
Sean, what about you?
I'm gonna have to say, I think J.L. Bourne's Day by Day Armageddon. I like the way it was, the diary style, the entries. It was a great story. It kept me hooked all the way through, front to back.
That is a good book. Bethany, what about you? Favorite book? Favorite zombie book?
One I always keep going back to, the series, is the John O'Brien series. So I just love his unique perspective on it, the way he writes it. He's one of the few people I know that can write in first person that does it pretty well. So, but yeah, I really like it. It's a good series.
Awesome. Sylvester?
I really loved World War Z.
Good book.
Just loved all the different stories. My favorite one was the pilot whose plane went down, and then I love that one. So if it wasn't World War Z before that, it was Slow Burn. Book 1 was my favorite. But yeah, those are my 2 books that I go back to.
Definitely good choices. Alan?
Got to be Wet Work by Philip Nutman.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fast, fun read. I always go back to that one when I'm, just kind of not wanting to think too hard, which is probably every day.
Jeff, what about you?
I got to go with World War Z again. I'm a history nerd, and the way it treats the Zombie as an historical event, and it goes at it. I just love the way he did that.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah,
Scott,
especially like the grunt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with Sylvester and Jeff. I'm a huge history buff. I loved World War Z. I love the way it was written, like an oral history.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was brilliant in that every section was written with a different voice.
Yes.
So it wasn't like you were reading one guy. It was the perspective of different people. Plus, I studied the North Korean target for 20 years. So the idea of the North Koreans going underground, closing their bunkers, and then the outbreak taking place just thrilled me.
Pulling all those teeth.
Good book. Yeah, we have a question from the audience we can ask everybody, and we'll just go around the room, and we'll just start right back with Scott and go right back the way we came.
Right.
Says, Thomas Whitney says, love to ask questions to authors, advice for new writers.
Right. I know tons of supposed writers who spent years filling notebooks with notes and plots and character and world development and never wrote a word. Just sit down and write. It doesn't matter if you're not good at the beginning. Like anything, playing the piano, sports, you get better at it with time. Just sit down, write, see if you can get people to look at it, accept their criticism. And I bet you everyone here, their first book or 2, they refused to even admit they wrote it. It was so bad. But now look at us.
It's good advice. Jeff, what about you? What advice would you give new writers?
Exactly the same. Write something every day. Doesn't matter what it is. You could write just like an essay or a letter to somebody or just mad rambling. Write every single day. and then read everything you can get your hands on, the good and the bad. You'll learn a lot from reading the bad stuff because you learn what not to do.
Yeah, that's great advice. I have learned just as much from bad writing as I have from good. Alan?
Bad, did you say bad writing? From you?
Well, I don't know. We were trying to figure out the Morse code. You were tapping on the window.
That's my grandson. He's running around like a wild man today.
Yeah, we saw him come in.
He doesn't like my books.
No
right.
coloring pages.
Yeah, right. Just like you, Jeff, and Scott said, right? I mean, it's a brave new world out there for writers now. I mean, things are changing, but it's the Wild West. Well, it's probably the Wild West when we all started. But I mean, you can jump in. You got a book in your head, write it, put it out there. Don't worry about traditional. I mean, you can shop stuff around. That's fine, but you want to get a book out to the world, write it, throw it out there. Who's to say you can't? I can't tell anybody they can't write. All right. But make sure you have a good cover. That's my advice. Write a book, get a good cover, get a good editor, and always have somebody read it, before you put it out there, just to help you along. Beta readers, if you can. But okay, a good cover and a good editor. Those are mine. And Thomas Whitney, I saw in his comment, he said everybody out there on the chat said hi to us. So hi, everybody back.
Hi.
Sylvester, go ahead, buddy. Your turn.
I mean, I just feel like it's the exact same thing. I guess I would say don't be afraid don't just get lost in your genre. You should read a lot, but you can also read outside your genre. Like I've gotten plenty of ideas for my books from just other horror books or from vampire novels, or just like my books have comedy in it. So sometimes anything that's funny. I watch movies. Don't just get like wrapped up in your book. You have to go outside your book. You have to watch movies, read, talk to people within your genre. Because if you're just focused on your story, eventually you're going to look up and you might have just pushed out something that was just pushed out 2 weeks ago. So,
yeah. Bethany?
If you have writer's block, then whiskey helps a lot. So it helps me. But you know what if scenarios really help whenever I come to a block. I don't know if you guys ever do those, but you just kind of write down what if and then keep going. Doesn't matter what you write, but it kind of unlocks the floodgates. And then write what you want to read. So don't write for other people. Write for yourself. Write what you want. Put it out there. And you're going to find an audience for it. Other people want to read what you have to say. So.
Good advice. Shawn?
Yeah, 9/10 of the battle's finishing that first book. Just finish that first book, get it done. I did that first book on my yellow pad on my iPad. iPhone, my first iPhone. While my boy was playing indoor gym. It rains here a lot. It was just for me to finish something. I'd been sober for just a couple of years, and it was the first thing I ever finished that I put my head down and started to do. So finish that book. Another thing I want to echo what you guys said is get a good editor, someone that's not too overly overbearing, and get a great cover person, spend the extra money, it pays off. And then if you go audiobooks, which you have to now almost, get a good audio performer. My guy, Adam Paul, he's super professional. I pay a little extra for him, but the money is well worth it.
Steven?
Definitely.
I would say the same as them as well. Write the stuff. I spent too long before when I was talking about it and noting it, and then eventually I just sat down and said, right, I'm going to start writing stuff. You can talk all you want about. I was talking to my mate all the time about ideas I had, but I wasn't actually doing anything with them. So put the ideas down. And another one is, I would say, if you've got any questions, ask people in your genre or whatever. Don't be afraid to ask people, look, do you think this sounds all right, or do you think that sounds all right? Or just wee questions. Like, we can all help each other, I suppose, in this. It's not just a case of everybody for themselves. It's like I've noticed that everybody helps each other. So if you've got anything in particular, you can ask.
Absolutely. Joe, since you're back, what advice would you give to a new writer?
You know, you got to finish it. You got to finish it. I can't tell you how many people I've met where they said, "Oh, I've got 6 books going right now," and it's like, you know, I can have 2, maybe 3, but 2 at most, and you've got to take one at a time and finish it. You know, like when I'm writing towards a deadline and I put deadline myself, you know, I'll stop at 40, 50K if I'm planning on a 75, 80K book, and I'll start my revision process then. I'll go back to the beginning, look at all the scenes and read through them, and then build towards the ending from there. But you gotta finish. If you don't finish, it don't mean shit.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Thomas,
I
I
got
hope
one
that-
addition.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
You got
sir. No, go ahead.
I found that if I put 2 X's, if I'm writing and I need to research something, I don't go down the rabbit hole. I'll just throw 2 X's on there. And when I'm done with the chapter or whatever, I'll go and search those X's, and then I'll go get lost. If I do it as I'm going,
I'll do things like that, like highlight it, just so I know that I've got to build on that when I'm going through my revision. Because I hope everybody revises their own rough edit.
Yeah.
I mean, I could never send it to the editor from when I'm done with my first draft. It'd be like, oh my God, are you a
so easy to
2-year-old?
get lost in YouTube or in whatever.
But yeah, right, getting hooked up on little details when you're trying to create can be a fatal flaw. It can stop the whole writing process and create writer's block. Get it done. Go back and fix.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if you've got plot holes, you know you can catch them in revision. You know you can build on the storyline or build on a character or build on a scene. You know, revision is where you see, you know, I can describe these mountains this way, or I can describe how the river sounds and how it flows, or how cold the water is this way. I can never do that first draft. First draft, I'm getting the story down, you know. So, but that's me. Everybody's different. My point would be to finish.
Now,
Absolutely.
one other thing. Surround yourself with a group of people like this bunch. There's such a wealth of information out there, and everybody I've met, every writer I've met, has been more than willing to offer up suggestions, to help out, to offer support, go get drunk together, whatever. Surround yourself with a bunch of people like this. You can't go wrong.
I've helped people from start to finish on books, but one thing I tell them is that I'm going to be as brutally honest with them as I am with myself.
Yep.
You know,
absolutely.
Because we're all our own worst critics. You read what some of these people write as reviews, it's like, I said it first.
I reached out to Bill McKinney and Tufo and O'Brien early on when I was brand new, and all 3 of them answered my DMs and helped me out with questions. And don't read your reviews if they're getting you down, and you know they had invaluable.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely correct. I've had a lot of good advice from a lot of different authors over the years. One thing I read, and just remember everything everybody else said is, yes, you definitely do have to get the rough draft written. But I read a piece of advice one time that has stuck with me through the years, and it was from Mickey Spillane, of all people. They asked Mickey Spillane one time what he did when his story was bogging down and he didn't know where to go next. And he said, whenever I'm getting bogged down in the details, I have 2 thugs kick in the door and beat up the main character. And I've just always stuck with it.
Must have happened a lot.
Yeah, because that was a trope in a Mickey Spillane novel. You know, at some point, they were just going to randomly kick in the door and beat up the guy for no reason.
Makes sense.
Very good.
Thomas says, if any of you come to Hammond, Louisiana, come and eat at my restaurant and I'll pick your brain.
That sounds like a zombie talking to me.
Right? Sounds like a setup. What's on the menu?
Yeah, He owns
It
a
sounds
Vietnamese
intriguing.
restaurant. He owns a Vietnamese restaurant in Hammond, Louisiana. I've seen his posts. He's a friend of mine on Facebook, and he pops into the show from time to time on my DAX Machina show as well. And their food looks fantastic. I'm going to make the trip down there one of these days.
Now, does he or does he not have a nice Chianti to go with it?
Well, he's more of a Scotch
Lava
guy.
beans.
Oh, okay. All right. It's good to know.
All right, next question. And this is just a lightweight one now since we did some heavy lifting. Oh, main character of your series or your standalone book or whatever. Okay, who would you pick? Let's say for the most popular character from Hollywood, if you had an actor, and this is going to be hard for Joe because he's a Luddite. But who would you pick? What actor, what Hollywood person would you pick to be that main character? And we'll go with Steven.
Mine's is set in Scotland, so maybe it would need to be Robert Carlyle.
Oh, I like Robert Carlyle. All right.
But
He's always
in saying
put-
that, in the book, I don't exactly say what age they are or anything like that, but in the book, I think character in my head's about 30, 34 maybe. So Robert Carlyle's maybe a wee bit. But then, what's the Ewan McGregor? Maybe Ewan McGregor. He's a wee bit younger looking in that, so maybe one of them.
Good. How about you, DA? I know you got some.
Depending on which series. If I went with the Ragnarok Rising series, the person I've always pictured when I created the character was Michael Chiklis from The Shield.
I can see that. That'd be good. How about you, Shawn? I mean, you've got plenty to draw from too.
Oh man, for Riker's Apocalypse, younger Denzel Washington, definitely. For surviving the zombie apocalypse, Cade Grayson would be. His name's escaping me. The lead from American Sniper. I'm sorry. I see
Bradley
his face.
Cooper?
Thank you,
Mark
Bradley
Wahlberg, no?
Cooper.
Bradley
Brian,
Cooper,
Brian, what is his name? American Sniper. What's his name?
Bradley Cooper.
Yeah,
Bradley
Bradley Cooper's
Cooper.
it. I just couldn't pull
Good
it out
movie.
of my brain.
Yeah,
How
well,
about you, Bethany? That'd be a good choice,
yeah.
Shawn.
Thank you.
I'd like a Bruce Willis as like my older cop guy, and then a Mark Wahlberg as his partner. I don't know. I think those two would be a pretty good combo.
Yeah, I'd see that.
Yeah.
How about you, Sylvester?
I had my fans vote on it, and they picked Zoe Saldana for
Cool.
Catherine. So yeah,
I like Zoe.
yeah,
Good
she's
choice.
cool.
Good choice. How about you? What would be yours, though? I mean, your fans voted. What
Oh,
about
mine?
you? Do you have-
Her name is Gugu Ra, and she was
Okay.
yeah. So
The
I
par-
really
in,
liked her.
That
Yeah,
one in the
I
space
really-
station, the Paradox.
Yeah, the Cloverfield Paradox.
Okay.
I really liked her, and I did this like versus thing, and everyone was Zoe. So I think I was the only one that voted.
Good choice.
But yeah,
How about you, Jeff?
It would be the character of Jonesy, and I would go with Ryan Reynolds from his Blade Trinity era.
You can't have Ryan Reynolds.
Isn't he kinda
The
young?
warm up to Deadpool.
How about you, Scott?
I know it's going to seem a little off, but for Nurse Alyssa, I always pictured Anna Kendrick.
Okay.
You know, I know she's more of a comedian, but I just picture her as the young woman who's not expecting and not prepared for a zombie apocalypse, but will rise to the occasion rather than get killed.
Okay. Kind of like in The Accountant. Kind of like that.
Yeah.
Type. How about you, Joe? Humphrey Bogart. Who? What?
For Zombie Rush, she's Hispanic, so I would pick. I think Margot Robbie could pull it off. And for
Wait a minute. What? You said she's Hispanic?
for Gone the Dog, I'd probably go with Margot Robbie. And then for my Five Roads to Texas series, I'd probably pick Margot Robbie. Pretty much definitely I'd go with Margot Robbie.
Margaret.
I'm sensing a theme there, Joe.
You're seeing a trend? What? Am I predictable? Sorry.
Alan, what about you, man?
As Raleigh Hale, and he's a monster of a character, it'd be I've always pictured Frank Grillo. Frank Grillo's not as big as he is, but that pompadour, man, very cool. So Frank Grillo would be my lead character.
That's a good choice.
He was
We got
great.
another one from the Peanut Gallery. Thomas Whitney says, if you had to take your main protagonist and set them in a completely different genre, where would you put them and why? So we'll just go right back the same way, Joe. And I know Margaret Robbie.
I'm kidding about that. I do like her, but
because of Margaret Robbie.
Fun, really. Don't take me seriously for anything. But to tell you the truth, that's actually a pretty good question because I write different genres. So if I was to take Lisa Reynolds, who is really kind of a shooter, and put her in the time travel novel I have, it would work. And I think she would do very well on that. That's called Wayward Son. But if I was to take her and put her in the fantasy novel I have, that wouldn't work because they didn't have guns. She wasn't good with a sword. So, I would put her in a sci-fi novel. And I think that would be a lot of fun.
That sounds good. Scott, what about you, buddy?
I think I would probably. I think Nurse Alyssa would fare well as Tatiana in the paranormal series I'm producing, but I don't think she'd do well in the post-apocalypse. The girl in the post-apocalypse is a little bit too naive at the beginning of the book.
Cool. Jeff, what about you? What genre would you put your main character in?
It would be Jonesy again, and I'd put him in like the old 1930s film noir, hard-boiled detective, kind of Humphrey Bogart, Sam Spade kind of thing.
That would be cool. I love those old kind of film noirs. Alan?
I love the dialogue, how quick that dialogue.
Oh, yeah, the snappy banter.
Yes.
I do like good dialogue.
I would take Doc Keegi from the series, which he's a smart ass and just a nihilistic character, but he's got a good heart, and put him in a Western. I think he'd be perfect in a Western. I'd love to write a Western.
I love Western.
I can see that. Sylvester?
I love Westerns too. If I was going to do this, I think I would like to rip Catherine right from the middle of a big old zombie fight and just drop her in a romantic comedy. Because I think that'd be fun. It's the whole
covered in gore and
bloody.
suddenly in a rom-com.
1 minute she's fighting a zombie, and next she's sitting at a table with wine spilling and air. Yeah, I would just like to see them.
One scene killing a zombie, the next she brain spikes Tom Hanks.
Yeah. Everybody's just looking at her like she's crazy. What's wrong? Yeah,
My bad.
Why are you covered in blood?
What's on your mind? What are you thinking?
Bethany, what about you?
Yeah.
I can't follow that. I have a lot of main characters. So I think Alex, one of my main female characters, she'd be really good in a sci-fi fantasy. I think she'd be cool with sci-fi fantasy.
I can see that.
Mhm.
Shawn?
Oh, I gotta go Western too. Well, there's two, but the Western, I'd want Cade Grayson, my main character from STZA, to be dropped around the New Madrid Quake era, and Demons released because of the quake, the sand boils and whatnot.
Ooh,
Fight
that'd be
games.
good.
Number two, kind of obscure, but early, maybe 1775, New Hampshire. It'd be one of the Green Mountain Boys, original Special Forces. I don't know. That might be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Now, let me write that down. That sounds good.
Steven?
I would go with the main character in it. He's he's into the action, but he's also got some wisecracks and stuff, and he comes out with one-liners sometimes. So I would think he'd be good in sort of something that's got kind of comedy sort of bits in it. But is there a comedy genre in books? I don't know if there's. Is there I don't know if there's a comedy genre in books, is it?
The comedy what book?
Comedy
A genre?
books.
Comedy
Yeah,
genre?
there's comedy books.
Yeah.
Is there just pure comedy? Aye?
I think it's kind of like you take the the main genre and then throw comedy in it. Like you got romantic comedy, you have like horror comedy.
Aye, that's sort of. Well, that's I would go with that then. Aye.
I think if I did that, pick my main character from one of my series, and threw him into another genre. Again, I'd like to see Alan and Shawn's input on this because they know my main character. I would like to take Wiley Grant from Ragnarok and give him the Ghost Rider, the Spirit of Vengeance.
Wow.
I'd love to see that in a graphic novel, Wiley coming to terms with that. Like at the end of Ragnarok, when everybody thinks he's dead, if he wakes up and his face ignites.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
I think that would be a really, really wicked graphic novel.
No, that'd be cool.
That'd be real cool.
Chain whip and everything.
Yeah.
Flame whip.
Plus, he carries that big ass revolver, so it'd be just everything along with it. And at the end of the book, he was carrying swords. So I think it would be a really, really strange combination of the Ghost Rider.
That'd be cool. Nah, that'd be neat. Okay, we've got another question. This is we had a fun one. Now let's try to take this one. Would you rather go through the apocalypse watching a loved one die or searching for him forever until you meet your end? Joe.
Ask that question again. I don't think you said it.
Would you rather watch a loved one die during the apocalypse, or would you rather spend the apocalypse looking for them and never finding them?
Oh, I'd rather see him die. You know, that whole looking thing. I guess I'm pretty lazy at heart.
I'm gonna tell Jill. that. I'm gonna. Jill, sorry, Joe said you're dead when it happens. And I'm gonna look for you.
I'd be like, honey, the best thing I can offer you is a bullet in the head right now. I ain't the one to have to do it, but luckily I'm a good shot.
Is Jill there?
We're going to take one try.
One of us may about to be in a lot of trouble. You can look at the bottom of the screen to this next comment.
Oh. Okay. Scott, we're going to jump to Steven. Steven, you better answer that.
Much rather have the attempt than my wife.
I'd probably put a bullet in her he'd die. Couldn't be doing with that search and stuff, though.
If we see somebody come through that door behind him with a bat, we know the screenplay is
demolishing a foul place.
Next,
I saw that and had to share. Okay. He may be in trouble anyway.
Remember. She said remember.
That's life memory. So, dude,
you might hear from that about that 20 years.
Give it up now.
Yeah. One quiet night. Remember? I thought everything was okay.
I've been drinking.
Okay, DA, how about you? What would you?
Well, I'm a fan of tortured characters. I think tortured hero is a fun hero to write. But having said that, I think it's more torture for them to never know for sure what happened to them. They haven't accepted they're dead, but they don't know where they are. So I think I would, much like the Ragnarok books, it's mostly about him trying to get to his family and trying to make sure they're safe. So I think that's more of a tortured character, and I enjoy writing those.
Good. How about you, Shawn?
I kind of like Dwight, and I still watch The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead, so don't tell anyone. But Dwight is constantly searching for his significant other and finds little scraps of paper, and his mind plays tricks with them. And I think I would go that route.
Yeah, that's good. How about you, Bethany?
Oh, watch him die. I can't. My imagination is probably way worse than what actually happened to them, so I would psychologically trip myself out. To me, it's much better to know and be able to process it and get over it versus constantly wondering and never knowing.
And find someone new. There's going to be a lot of sex going on.
But not a lot of bathing.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's no soap. I don't know, man.
Nobody's washing.
We're not all Marines. How about you? What do you think, Sylvester?
I'm gonna have to go with search just for my own to keep myself alive, because I don't think I could like watch my loved one die and then continue on. So just so I can keep going, I'm just gonna search. And even if in the back of my mind I think they're dead, I'm just gonna keep saying, nah, they're there, they're home. I'll just get there.
Nice. How about you, Jeff?
I'd say keep searching. If for no other reason than it gives you something to hope, something to hang on to, while everything's falling apart around you. That would be, I think that would be the best way to go.
We all need hope. How about you, Scott?
I would rather watch them die. I know they're gone. I know they're in a better place. And then I could go on doing what I want, whether I wanted to take my own life, whether I wanted to just roam the countryside, help out other people. As Joe said, pick up all those female stragglers. But at least
Go fishing.
It would be more painful for me, but it would be nice to know that, I don't have to worry about what happened to my loved one.
No, that's a good answer. My answer would probably be similar to yours.
Well, we all know Joe's most excited about no limits on the fishing. What? That's true. There's no rules now.
Tina die. Go ahead, say it, Alan.
Huh? What'd you say, Joe? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. I was busy laughing at something I said. What'd you say?
I just said you can't say it. Watch someone die, or watch your loved one die. You just said, yeah, I
would rather have that. I would rather have that than search for him. I've written characters like that.
I can't with that comment right there.
Wow.
I'm just messing with you, bro. You know that.
Oh, that's so wrong. That's hilarious. I was supposed to be finding a question to ask, and I was laughing too hard.
You should have read that.
I will then. It says people will be scrounging for food. Joe and Scott will be searching for Plan B pills.
That's great.
And the CIA has the good ones. Scott would be set, man.
Oh, yeah.
That's
like
a good
the
point.
Energizer Bunny.
And Neil Finn says if they know I'm there when they die, at least they didn't have to die alone. That's a good point.
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good point. That is.
And if you have somebody like one of your loved ones sitting there waiting in the wings, you're not going to defend yourself as well, because you're always going to be worried about being there to take care of them. Whereas if you're on your own, you can go all out,
Oh, yeah, party.
What?
Apparently, you're going to be partying, harding, and fishing, Joe.
Well, I'd have to fight zombies to get to the lake. You can't just launch a boat in a matter of seconds. It's going to take a few minutes. So there'll be some fighting. But I have a grill. I can cook right on the boat, so I won't have to come to shore for days.
My wife once told me if anything ever happened to me, she didn't know what she would do. And I said, well, just out of good taste, you can only celebrate for so long. She just rolls her eyes and goes, "You're an idiot."
Oh, your wife does the same thing.
I deflected back. I deflected back at her. I'm like, "I'm an idiot. You married me. I was this way going in. This was not a news flash." So which one of us made the mistake here?
Throw us another question there, DA.
Alrighty. What would you guys think is the most important skill to have during a zombie apocalypse? Steven?
Probably hunting to get food. Because eventually everything's going to, obviously, supermarkets are not going to last forever. So finding your own food sort of stuff, that would be probably the main one, I would think, anyway.
That's a good one to point out. Shawn, what about you?
I wish I would have went first. I would probably say hunting as well, hunting or fishing, living off the land, basically.
Yeah, good survival skills.
Number 2, I mean, I'll throw in a 1A. How about being able to read people's expressions, tells? Don't have it.
That's a good one.
Kind of weed out the bad from the good.
Alan?
Tripping people.
Tripping people. It's the quick sidekick when you're being chased. It's like, wow.
Yeah, Shane.
Yeah, the Shane. Pull the Shane.
Pull the Shane. That's all you had to do was shoot him. Just once in the leg. Sylvester?
I guess like agriculture and stuff, being able to grow my own food. I mean, I would never want to in my life right now, but if it comes to it, I'll become a vegetarian and I'll just live.
Good point. Bethany?
I try to find someone who's like MacGyver, who can basically make anything out of anything. Like, you need food, he's got you. You need like a trap, he's got you. So someone who's just all around Boy Scout.
Good plan.
I didn't know finding MacGyver was a choice.
Yeah. Gotta think outside the box.
Jeff, what about you?
I'm going to throw a little Rudyard Kipling on you. I think the most important thing would be the ability to keep your wits about you when all around you are losing theirs.
It's a great quote, too. Scott?
I would say having basic medical skills, knowing how to tend to a sprained ankle, if you had to do stitches, if you had some sort of open sore. Because right now, if that's the case, I just rot away at the seams. I wouldn't know what to do.
Good point. Joseph?
Personally, I think now I've never been this, so I don't know for sure, but I think being physically fit would be your best tool, with the ability to put your ego aside and learn things. Mm-hmm. But if you were not like Caitlyn Jenner, but if you were an athlete, especially a runner, I think that would be better than any weapon you could find, because if you can trust in your body to hold up better than the next guy, I think you'd do well.
Cardio.
I think that in a case like that, it's knowing your weaknesses, knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are. In one of the scenes in the second book of my series, of the Ragnarok series, I had the characters make a run on a library, and I had a lot of people say, "Why would they hit a library?" Well, he took books on topographical maps for best places to look for arable land. He took books on basic metallurgy and farming. If you don't know the skill, find a way to learn the skill.
Yeah, there's a great part of the book Lucifer's Hammer about the professor who gathers all these great books and hides them in an old septic tank. That's exactly right. You have all the things of how things are made, how to do irrigation, everything you need to know in order to survive. You can find it in a book somewhere.
Yeah. I keep a copy of this on my desk, and I also have a copy in my go bag. And it's just something you can find them on Amazon for next to nothing. It's a copy of the SAS Survival Guide. This is the pocket edition, and it tells you about edible plants, how to build snares, basic medical, how to build a shelter. There's just a billion useful things in this book, and I highly recommend getting a copy of that. I've got the bigger copy in my bag, and this little copy I keep on my desk as a reference when I'm writing. But it breaks down medicinal plants, edible plants, how to build snares and traps. There's just 1,000,001 uses in that little book, and I definitely recommend getting something like that and keeping it on hand.
I thought you just had a giant hand. I didn't know it was a little but look at that! Look at the size of his hand.
Yeah, it's huge.
Oh my God! My luck would be I'd find that school from Zoolander. The kids can't read good. It's about that big, and I couldn't get in there to get the books to read. Bad joke, anyway. Next question, Simone. Yay. Fast or slow zombies, folks? Joe?
Both. I'm actually looking for a book to share with you guys. That is, I listen to it about once a year because it is so good, but it has no zombies in it, and it has no war or fighting in it. It's just this family that survives this super flu, and they're gathering like the last 0.25% of the population they can, and they're trying to, and it's called The Last Tribe, and they're trying to get them together, figure out how they can survive and keep humanity going. And they come up with a brilliant decision, but they go through Washington, and then they go to the museums there and steal original artwork and the Declaration of Independence to keep things going. And I'm just trying to find it for you so I can give you the author's name, because if you ever want to listen to something that is really spectacular, it's this book, The Last Tribe. Like I say, there's no war, there's no zombies. It's just really, really good storytelling. And I can't find it. Of course, I've got like 600 books on my Audible list, so that sucks. But anyways, look it up if you ever see it. Oh yeah, what was the question?
Fast or slow zombies, Joe? You're really in.
Either or. You know, if they're fast or slow, it's like when I did Zombie Rush, it was a matter of what stage of rigor mortis or halo mortis or secondary lucidity that the body was going through to decompose. So yeah, fast or slow, doesn't matter to me. I think they're both good.
Scott?
If I'm writing the book, a mixture of fast and slow zombies. If I'm living it, I want really, really slow, stupid, blind zombies.
Like geriatric zombies with walkers.
Yeah.
No teeth left to bite you.
How about you, Jeff?
I would go with slow zombies if only because it's more realistic. Well, yes, exactly. I mean, whether you're talking about undead or the virus, crazy people zombies, their brains are fried. Have you ever seen a drunk try to run? Yeah, they can't do it.
On many Monday morning formations, yes, I have.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
here's
the
that
best
book.
part's listening to him call cadence.
Yeah.
It's called The Last Tribe by Brad Manuel. And if
Thank
you
you, Joe.
want to read just good storytelling or whatever, I recommend it. I listen to it once a year, and I've had it for like 6 years now. So, Last Tribe by Brad Manuel. Hopefully, I didn't steer you wrong.
We'll let you know. Sylvester, fast or slow?
In my series, there's both. So they're fast until they tear ligaments or break bones and stuff, then they're slow. I love watching and reading fast zombies. But yeah, definitely just like Scott in real life, I'd rather them be slow and dumb. So, but for my entertainment, I like fast. Like I like Black Summer, seeing them just break through the front door instead of worrying about it being locked, or like Train to Busan. I like things like that. That's terrifying because I don't feel like I'd survive.
Definitely. How about you, Bethany?
If I'm looking at slow, because I'm slow, so we got to even the playing field. And then if I'm watching it, yeah, like Sylvester said, the Train to Busan with like the creaky joints and they're just running after you, like that creeps me out. So
Shawn?
Both. I have Slogs and Bolts in my Records Apocalypse series. And I wrote it before Zombieland 2, so Bolts I didn't steal from Zombieland 2. In STZ, they're all slow, except the kids. They're kind of fast a little bit. And in real life, man, gotta be slow. That scene from 28 Days Later, or maybe it's 28 weeks later, when he's running across the field, he finds the nest and they're chasing him down the boat ramp into the water. Oh, my heart was going like this. So slow, oldsters.
DA?
I use a mixture of both in my books, but and if I'm watching a movie, I enjoy it. But if it was me personally trying to outrun them, I'd need the slow ones because I'm not particularly fast. To me, the three most terrifying words put together when applied to zombies have nothing to do with a tiger, like we saw in Zombie Army, Army of the Dead. The three most terrifying words to me are zombie, Usain Bolt.
Yeah. How about you, Stephen?
I would say if it was real, I would say slow, because I'm no fast myself. I've got condition that's causes me. I'm slow, so I couldn't outrun any of them. So slow for that. But if I'm watching it, I like a mixture. Like you say, like slow is good to watch, but I see the fast ones as well. It kind of just gets you going a wee bit more. It's that like that 28 Days Later scene. That was like you would just look at that going like, run. No chance against them.
Speed definitely enhances the terror. And the Koreans are really nailing it right now with their zombies.
Yeah.
The movements and it's just creepy as
So good.
So get out.
I just watched the first 20 minutes of Black Summer season 2, the first episode, and it is insane. It's so green. It's crazy. I can't.
Well,
watch that.
I'm rewatching season 1 before I start season 2.
Well,
there's some head scratching moments, but it's darn good. I
was just watching
palpable
before I came here.
That last episode where they're just shooting.
That was kind of realistic, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Everybody.
That's how it would be because you've got people that are just popping off rounds all over the place. Panic.
TSC season 2, episode 1.
Nice. I'll be watching that tonight.
Do you guys remember the scene where he was on top of the bus and like all the zombies are around the bus and he's just laying flat? I don't know why, but that one just like, ooh, like shivers down my spine.
He's running around in the firehouse. Crazy.
That guy, man, he's just.
I saw you post that, Shawn, that there was season 2, and then I flipped on my Netflix, and there it was. I was like, I'm so excited.
One of the best nail biter scenes I can remember seeing was actually in The Walking Dead, which I usually find pretty boring, but this scene in particular was when the guy from Everybody Hates Chris was stuck in between the revolving door. Yeah, and the moment you realized what he was about to do, you're like, "Oh crap! This
Everybody
is
eats Chris."
Everybody eats Chris. Yeah. Lynn Good says, "Where's Mark Tufo? You gentlemen are great, and so is he." And then she corrected herself, said, "Sorry, Bethany, I should have said lady as well." We'll have to extend the invitation to Mark next time we do this. I would like to see this become a semi-regular thing where we can all do this.
Cool.
But I'm sorry, Bethany, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going off we were talking about Walking Dead, and I was just saying that I feel like season 2 was probably their best season. Like where they get introduced to the farm and all that. Like I feel that's the character depth, and they're not trying to. It's almost like some of the other seasons, the writers were just like, we don't know what to write. So they just made up stuff. But season 2 is just my absolute favorite of that one.
The Well Walker. That was the best one.
Yeah. That's like me after a buffet, man.
I like how they were just in the water anyway. Like they pulled out this big old bloated thing.
Gotta bust out the buffet pants.
That's me getting out of the tub. Honey, can you help me?
All she'd have to do is like throw like a scorpion in there. You'd pop out of there like a kettle. Pew!
Yeah. They just my daughter just caught a spider. It's probably about this big in their gym, in the bathroom in their gym. And it's some kind of desert spider. It's like, holy crap. She put
like
it
a tarantula or?
No, it's I forgot what my son-in-law said it was, but it was huge. It's like, holy crap. Just throw that in the tub, I'd be out. DA, you got another question?
Oh, yeah, let me grab one. I was looking at that. It just says Facebook user, so I can't really tell who it is. It says, sorry, guys, had a work commitment at last minute, and it called me away. Well, if you sign into StreamYard.com/Facebook, you can give them permission to use your name. Otherwise, it just says Facebook user. Hadley Thorne says, "Hey, friends,"
Hey,
and I will pick a question. I like the faster, slow one. We got some good responses out of that. There we go. That's a good one. Do you write in any genres other than the zombie genre? Stephen?
I'm actually going to try a Western. I was asking yourself the other night about the different weapons and stuff, but it's, I'm going to have to figure out what years I'm going to do it in, and then research the clothes, research guns, that sort of stuff. But I'm thinking about Western.
I'm getting the feeling that that spurs and kilts probably don't mix well.
No, I don't actually.
it grosses the horses out. They're like, oh.
It was such a weird visual right there.
He's a quick draw from the sporin.
Everybody loves westerns. They do. I do.
Aye.
Shawn?
I tell you how many westerns I've watched in my life. Loved John Wayne as a kid. Yeah.
Louis L'Amour, great writer.
Oh, he's my favorite.
I wrote a series called Peacemaker for Skill Set Magazine. It was a serial and kind of like Death Wish, set in 20 the nowadays. U.S. Marshal followed around, used his job to hunt traffickers, drug dealers on his off hours. So that I want to write a novel following that character.
That's really cool. Bethany?
Well, like I said before, I have the Gabby Jones series. I don't know if it's an actual genre, but I call it supernatural mysteries, and it's the monster of the week book type thing. So every book is a different monster she has to deal with.
Nice.
Cool.
Sylvester?
What
about you, sir?
I also write in YA, so like YA fantasy. And actually, I think when I'm done with Planet Dead, I'll probably just be focusing in the YA genre. It's still gonna be like horror and post-apocalyptic, but just down a grade. But yeah.
Sounds good. Alan?
So far, it's been zombies, but I'm working on a sci-fi for that, Vela.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got a couple of other genres, military horror type of, without zombies going on. So
I'm kind of interested about that one. That one will be really good.
I'll shoot you. What I have on it.
Okay, I'd love to read it.
Thank you. But yeah, I'm trying to branch out. You know, I'm a slow writer. I'm not that prolific. Wish I was. But then Joe's always calling me and bugging me, so I can't write when he's around.
Trying to help.
Jeff, what about you? What other genres would you write in?
Just generalized horror. There is more to horror than zombies. As Scott and I and four of our fellow authors found out when we wrote one together called The Collector, they would I loved how twisted everybody's imagination was. I mean, maybe it's just me. I just like that dark kind of warmth.
Nothing wrong with that. Scott, what about you, sir?
I've written in general horror. I have a vampire trilogy. I wrote a big monster book that was like reminiscent of the 1950s monster movies. I've got a young adult post-apocalyptic fantasy book out there. I'm currently writing a paranormal series, a post-apocalyptic series, and I got this one series sitting on the side that I want to get back to. It's about OSS, Office of Supernatural Services. It's about the OSS and MI5 fighting Nazi occultism in World War II. And I forayed into, and if you ask me about it, I'll tell you, tentacle sex.
Well, the OSS
I'm afraid to.
the OSS book, you would definitely have to have Wild Bill Donovan as a character in that.
Yeah. No, what had happened was we were at a panel one night, and the panel was how far would you go in your writing? So this guy from an Oceanographic Institute said that they were raising money for their institute, and he dared all of the writers to write a tentacle sex story. So when you challenge me, it's like, I've got to rise to this. So I came up with this story, but it wasn't the typical Japanese schoolgirl being molested. It was this middle-aged housewife who decides to have a gangbang on the beach with a starfish. And what gets me was it was sent back to me, and the guy told me it was too disgusting to publish. It's like, it's tentacle sex. How can it be too disgusting?
Now you Doc Ock.
Okay, well, I think we just officially lost our PG rating.
Yeah, right.
I didn't go into details.
Hey Scott, what was the name of that book right there?
The story is out in Rejected for Content, book 1.
Woodward and the Divorcee.
Joseph, what about you, man?
I have my first novel was True to Life. That was about a chimpanzee. I have Wayward Son, which is a time travel science fiction novel. I have Cataclysm, which is elves, dwarves, gnomes, a lot of swords. That's my fantasy novel, which is probably what I will end up writing when I'm done with the Gone to Dog series, which is a Western, futuristic Western. So when I'm done with that, I'm going to strictly write fantasy. And then I have the zombies with, to be honest, I'm kind of, I like writing about zombies. I had fun with it, but I think I'm pretty much done with it, with 2 series. And I think I'm pretty much done with writing about zombies. I'm going to move on to other things. Writing about fantasy, I can't even explain to you what it's like. I mean, there are no boundaries. There's no format or anything like that. You're just, it's just very free. Yeah. So that's after 2 more novels and Gone to Dog, so I can finish up this series that is tied to Zombie Rush. Then I'm going to do strictly fantasy.
Sounds awesome. I do like a good fantasy novel. We have another question from the gallery. Oh no, I had one before that. I'm sorry, Thomas. I'll get back to that one. Hadley Thorne says, "What's your favorite book you have written?" Stephen?
I would probably, I've only written the 2 so far, but I actually like writing the Peters one. It was just a wee kind of short book on one of the characters, but I had quite a lot of fun writing some certain scenes in it that were, so I would say that one actually. I've got about 7 sort of character books I'm going to be writing, but they're all just kind of short, maybe 15k. Yeah. Just wee side quests and they're quite, I'm getting into more detail with some of them, more different kind of monsters maybe going to introduce in that. So,
oh, yeah, I like that. Thomas, your question is which piece of your work you're most proud of kind of rolls in with Hadley's question. So we'll just kind of put that all into one question. Shawn, what's your favorite?
I kind of touched on it already. Trudge, finishing something for the first time. I wrote it for my boy. My boy's name is Cade Chesser. His middle name is Gray. My protagonist is Cade Grayson, so he's Gray, my son. Just finishing that, basically. I'm very proud that I finally did something. It's like someone else said, it's kind of hard to go back and look at that first book. I held my nose, but the prose isn't great, the best, but the first book.
I would totally agree. Bethany, what about you?
Well, I've only actually published one, so that would be my Highway of the Dead. So
okay,
that's right. Be proud of that one.
Yes, it's awesome.
Always. So, Sylvester, what about you, sir?
Planet Dead 2. My dad died around the time that I was writing it, so it kind of helped me through all that, and I put a lot of my emotions with his death and his passing in it, because that's a main part of the story, is the main character dealing with his father's death. So that's always going to be my favorite book.
Free therapy.
Alan, what about you?
I would say probably Dead Island Operation Zulu.
Good book.
But Salvations, though, that one left me wrecked when I was done writing it. So I think maybe Dead Island Operation Zulu, just because it's the first book, and I got across what I wanted to do, and like Sylvester, my dad passed, but he fortunately for me, he got to read my first three books. So that was cool. So I would say my first book.
Jeff, what about you, sir?
Well, I'll always have a special place in my heart for Screen Bloody Cheerleader, but
I love that title.
My personal favorite and the one I'm most proud of would be Zombies of Infamy. It's the fourth book in the series. I just like that one.
Good choice. Scott?
It would be the last book in my Vampire Hunters trilogy, Dominion. It's pretty much an apocalyptic war between humans and vampires to control the earth. And I mean, it's filled with action. I wipe out Washington, D.C. I tie up all the characters. I kill characters off right and left. I weave the story into the history of vampires in Transylvania. I loved it. When I was done, I felt very proud of the novel, but I felt really sad that the novel was over and I couldn't continue with it anymore.
Joseph? I thought he was asleep there for a second. Your mic's cutting out, Joseph.
I spent 30 years writing it and very proud of it. It was a lot of work, and that would be my favorite and the most.
We miss that, Joe.
That would be the book that got me writing to begin with. I actually wrote it 3 times, once by hand, once by typewriter, and finally by computer. So, it's the one I'm most proud of.
What book is that, Joe? You cut out.
You were kind of cutting out.
Cataclysm, an Age of Legend. My fantasy novel. It's 320 some K, so it's a long one. And I haven't found a voice actor yet, but it's going to cost me a couple $1,000 to get it recorded, I'm sure. Of course, I don't want to pay any royalties, so it's going to cost me a couple.
Yeah. Name of Finn says, I'd like to see a book involving Alaska. I actually have plans a couple books down the road for one of my codename Wild Hunts to involve Alaska. I've been talking to a buddy of mine who's a former member of Naval Special Warfare, and he's going to help me plot out the underwater elements. So, yeah, I'm actually working on something along those lines. If I had to pick my favorite of all my books, I would always say my favorite is the one I'm working on at the moment. Because at some point your manuscript is like a toddler. You can only hold its hand for so long. Eventually, as a parent, you've got to let go and let it walk on its own. And once it's walking on its own, I focus on the one that I'm building. So I would say my favorite project is always going to be the one I'm working on right now, and from there, it just evolves depending on what genre I'm even writing in. But my favorite will, like I said, be the one that my current project.
Okay. Another question. This is specific to all of us. In your ZA series, what causes your outbreak, and is there a cure? And we'll go first with Stephen.
In my series, there's where it's set. There's a former hospital that's been shut for years, and it's had all the different kind of diseases all through the years. Basically, it was set up for like plague victims and stuff, and it's basically a real hospital. It actually only got knocked down last year, and it had been lying empty for about 12 years. But they had plans at one point to turn it into a kind of like flats and stuff or whatever, like houses and stuff. But it was too bad. If they'd left it that long, it was too bad not. So, but I'm going to try and the first book. It doesn't tell you in the first book how to start it. So that's going to be in book 2 probably, how this all. It's something to do with this hospital and all that. It's something that had been went in, got something with it, and it's caused all this problem.
Cool. DA?
What was the question again?
In your book, what causes the zombie outbreak, and is there a cure?
what causes it in mine is basically the interference of the Norse gods, thus the name Ragnarok Rising. And Ragnarok being a cycle, the only thing that's going to cure it is to finish the cycle.
Cool. Shawn, that's different too. Shawn?
Wuhan lab working on a virus gain of function testing. I wrote this back in 2010, so I'm not fighting it. And it escapes, and they decide got to use it or lose it, and so they send some agents to the United States and around the world to seed it, basically. And then after the United States is falling, they decide to come over here and try to look for farmland and whatnot, invade us.
That's too close, man.
I know.
Too close.
I don't have a crystal ball, brother.
You're not writing for The Simpsons, are you?
Nah.
That's funny.
Bethany?
Mine is meteorites. So meteorites crash. Some people are affected by them, some are not. And it just kind of changes people in different ways.
Cool. That's different too.
Yeah.
Sylvester?
Mine is they sent a shuttle to Mars so they could investigate Mars, and there's I don't know if you've seen Power Rangers, but when they released Rita Repulsa, there's this canister. So that's how I pictured it. That they opened it, they got all these spores, and they came back fine, but they're basically patient zero, all the astronauts, and they just kind of spread it throughout all their countries because they're from different countries, and it just
that's cool. That's a good way. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah,
spread it that way.
I'm gonna say bye. I had a lot of fun, so you guys have a great night.
It's nice having you, Sylvester.
Sylvester, thank you for coming. You're as always, you're awesome, dude, and you are welcome back anytime.
Yeah. Thank you.
Most definitely, I'll be back. See you.
Take care.
Have a good night.
Okay, Jeff.
It is a bioengineered virus created by a billionaire with a god complex, which I'll eventually be detailing in a prequel eventually. There's no cure for it, but there is a vaccine that'll keep you from getting it. Unfortunately, once you've got it, you're toast. Your brain's fried.
Nice. I like that concept.
It's kind of like what happens once you install Facebook on your phone.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do a Lovecraftian story
Facebook zombies.
About Facebook being like the portal to the elder gods. I have this image of tentacles coming out of a computer.
Where somebody
back to tentacles.
Somebody texts the word brains, and all of a sudden just hearts start appearing.
Brains. How about you, Scott? What say you?
My books, my Nurse Alyssa series doesn't discuss the origins of the virus, but in books, as you go into the series, they discover that there is a possible, that they did discover a gentleman who got bitten and never turned. So they go hunting for his blood to see if they can make a vaccine. Now, whether they make a vaccine or not, you have to read the books.
Nice. How about you, Joe?
Conquest, the first horseman of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. He directly is responsible for the zombie virus spreading.
I know yours is more supernatural.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of borders on religious.
And then yours wraps into the whole world. You have a whole world that's wrapped into your other books.
Yep, and it's all has to do with the end of the world coming and how it was spurred on by a demon, and the demon summoned the four horsemen, and the first one says, "Boom, here's how we do this." So yeah, he spread the virus.
Nice. That's different too, and I like that. We got
Yeah,
another
What I
question.
find fascinating about that
Sure,
is so many different ways that people have come up for the zombie virus to start. And I always like the unique ones. I mean, everybody's seen a government experiment gone bad or radiation from space, but I like the really unique ones. Those are the ones I find the most fun.
Yeah, me too. I like that different. And everybody has a different take.
You know, I had
That's
one
true.
guy who's never read any of my work accuse me of being a plagiarist just because we don't like each other. 70-year-old man. And I was just like, I read so many authors' works, and I found a couple of bad ones, but for the most part, I really enjoyed the work of indie authors.
Yeah.
But to copy one, I could never copy any of the shit you guys do. I mean, it would be harder to copy somebody's work than to just write my own, you know? So
I agree.
it's just, I think that this, what we're in now with the people being independent and publishing stories that they want to publish, that they write, without the format, without the formula. I love this shit. And
Yeah.
you guys are awesome. I love reading your shit. And if I haven't gotten to you yet, you can trust I will be.
Awesome.
Is that a threat? That sounds like a threat, man.
That's a threat.
Well, Joe, by the time you make it to mine, whenever you do make to my books, I would love to sit and talk about them with you.
Oh,
As
sure.
I would like to pick another author's brain on what they thought, what they think of my books, what I did right, what I did wrong, what I could have done better.
Yeah. Well, these days it's strictly audible because I go to work and I'm an estimator for a construction company. So I sit there with math in my head, and the whole time I have a headset on and I'm listening to a book. So, you know, it's, but anyways, I got to take off. I haven't had dinner yet. I'm just starving. So,
All right. Well, thank you for joining us.
soon. And
See
you later, Joe.
again.
You're welcome. Welcome to
Thanks,
join us
Johnny.
anytime, sir.
It's good talking to you, brother.
I
Have a
think
good
I
night.
can't say it was nice meeting y'all because I've met y'all before. So, again. All right, take care. And don't take anything seriously that I said because I really am full of shit.
You are.
We're writers. We all are.
That's a fact.
We have a question from someone familiar to us who already threatening Stephen earlier. If you had to pick something in your books that is excited to write about, what would it be? And we'll start with you, Stephen, since you're most familiar to that.
Aye. Well, as I said, I'm going to be writing a book, and it's going to be in the perspective of a woman who's called Nicola, who is based on the one that's talking to Zanu. So it's actually based on the wife, and I'm going to have to pick her brain and what she would be doing that sort of thing, because I've got the idea how I'd write a book basically just in a first person, a woman. I've not got a clue how to do that in particular, so I'll need to pick her brains for it, see what she would do, maybe get other perspectives for other women, what they would do in that situation. And the fact that she doesn't drive either, so that's another one. So having to jump in, and the thing about Britain is there's not a lot of automatic cars in Britain, so having to just jump in a car that you can't drive or something, it'd be quite hard, I'd imagine. So
I would imagine so, yeah.
Aye.
Shawn, same question. What is something in your books that you're excited to write about?
Well, this last book was very cathartic to write. It was, it's called Fury, Surviving the Zombie Apocalypse. And the Chinese are working on a death blow, basically. And Cade Grayson and his Pale Rider team has to figure out what they're planning and how to stop it. And I was writing it during the pandemic. And, I said there's a love lost for me between this, CCP and the PLA and what's going on. So that was fuel for the fire.
Well, speaking of your Pale Riders, I still have your Pale Rider patch that you sent me. I attached Velcro to the back of it, and it's still on my plate carrier.
Very nice, very nice.
You can't believe how many people's went, what the hell is that patch from? And I'd tell them about it and send them toward your books.
I had a local artist design that for me, so it's all mine.
Alan, how about you, sir? What's something that excites you about writing?
Oh, finishing. That's it. Getting that last part done. Thank God. When I wrote Deux,
I think we just lost Alan.
Yeah, I think we did. And he froze in that lovely.
Oops. Well, I guess until he unfreezes Bethany, same question.
I mean, I love writing zombies, but I'm so excited to be diving into my Gabby Jones series because I love monsters and I love just like the classic monsters and looking into histories and folklore and finding monsters with that. So I think I'm just more excited about the research into different monsters and stuff for Gabby to have to go up against. So that I'm so excited for that.
I think that'd be a really cool series. I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah.
Because I love anything in the monster genre.
Mm.
Oh, I think Alan finally disconnected. He'll probably be back in a minute. Jeff, same question, sir. What's something that you've written that really excites you?
It's in my latest one, Apocalypse Zombie, which comes out on the 29th, available for pre-order now. Had to get the shameless self-promotion in there. It takes place in an aquarium. I guess I wrote it before I watched Aquarium of the Dead, but it takes place in an aquarium in where am I looking for? In a place called Hammerhead Harbor. I had a lot of fun with that.
Sounds interesting. Scott, what about you? What's something that you've written that really excites you?
One thing that I'm excited about is several years ago, I wrote an espionage thriller. And I decided I'm publishing it on Vella. And it was a fun book. I called on my last 10 years experience. I wrote about thermonuclear weapons, radiological bombs, Ebola pox, this whole stuff. And the funny thing was, when you're a CIA officer, you have to vet it through the agency. Everything in there that I thought they were going to have a fit about, they didn't. One thing they told me I had to change. It was classified to use the term Delta Force. I had to change it to special operations or something. It was like I said to them, did anybody ever watch a Chuck Norris movie? But
Yeah.
But it's fun because it's just like, I'm finally able to put into print, stuff that I actually did for 20, not that, I was any of the action adventure, but stuff that I studied and, worked against for 23 years. And now it's kind of coming out in the book.
Sure, you weren't action adventure. We all know you were a secret assassin, Scott.
He's America's James Bond.
That's it.
I'm more like Get Smart.
Get Smart.
The cone of silence.
Had a phone in his shoe before it was cool.
Would you believe?
Yeah. Missed it by that much. I missed that show.
I know.
I just got a message from Alan. His internet died, so he's probably not going to be back. He's having some internet issues and lost it in his area. So I guess we've lost Alan for the night. There's a question for everybody, and I guess since Bethany just got back, we'll start with her if she's listening. Can you hear me? Oh, she's putting her headphones in now. Bethany, since you just got back, I'll start with you. Oh, do you listen to me? You're still muted. Do you listen to music when you write, and what kind do you listen to?
I listen to the John Wick series, especially when I'm doing like intense scenes. I really like it. And then if I'm just kind of needing something to tune out, like I've got I love my stepchildren, but sometimes you got to tune them out. So I get the just like thunderstorms and rain pretty much. But yeah, John Wick is kind of my go-to soundtrack of just listening over and over again. It kind of amps you up.
Yeah, I'd have to listen to something with a little oomph to it, because if I put on like thunderstorms and rain, the only sounds coming out of my writing room would be me snoring. A good rainstorm will put me to sleep like nothing else. Jeff, what about you? Do you use music, and what type?
I write to silence because the voices in my head make enough noise as it is.
I hear that. Scott, what about you?
I do most of my writing out on the front porch. So I don't listen to music because I'm usually busy listening to the two dogs bark at everything that goes by. But I do have an hour-long soundtrack that I found on YouTube of background zombie ambient noise. It's just an hour.
That's cool.
So I throw that on. And
That's
first time I
hilarious.
did it, my landlord came out looking around like, what the
Shawn, what about you? What kind of ambient noise or music do you listen to when you write?
I used to like silence. Sometimes you listen to classic rock, but now the kids are. This is a schoolhouse now and a cafeteria since the plague. So I bought some nice noise canceling headphones, and I'll listen to classic rock or. Missing the islands, I've been listening to tropical, island music and reggae lately too, since I miss Hawaii.
Understandable. I would miss it as well. I've never been there though. Steven, what about you?
Don't normally listen to it when I'm writing, but I do like country music. Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, Glenn Campbell, all that sort of stuff. But I like rock as well, AC/DC. But I tend to, when I'm writing, I tend not to really listen to much.
I like to have music in the background, and even if it's music with lyrics, although I prefer soundtracks and like classical music with no lyrics, but it also depends on the scene. If I'm doing a fight scene, I'll throw on Disturbed or Sabaton or something heavy. So I like something with some real power to it when I'm writing a fight scene. But if I'm doing dialogue or just advancing the plot, I'll listen to either classical music or preferably something without lyrics. Like one of my go-tos is the 13th Warrior soundtrack and the soundtrack to Gladiator. I love those two when I write.
It's funny you mentioned Sabaton, and we talked about that last time. My boy likes Sabaton. You wouldn't believe who Sabaton's opening for here in Portland.
Who are they opening for?
Judas Priest.
Oh my God, that's a great show.
Yeah,
I would love to see that show.
But I'm taking him to see Guns N' Roses, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, although they don't quite look like they did in the 80s.
I'm going to them too. First show in the
Fingers
new arena
crossed.
here in Vegas.
Nice. Fingers crossed Axel's with it.
It's funny. My boyfriend's name is Axel, and he was named after Axel Rose.
God.
Very cool.
Well, what made you guys want to write zombie fiction? Bethany, we'll start with you.
Because it's fun. I think I just picked up some books and I was reading them and they were good and I mean, I guess maybe a fun way to get through life is finding ways to kill them off in a zombie apocalypse. So
it's very cathartic.
It is. It is. No, it's really fun. I think people like the apocalyptic feel, like they like not having to deal with their everyday life, like going to work the next day, like what would I do? And that kind of fight or flight survival feeling. So there's plenty of other apocalypses that you can write in as well, which is fun as an author. You can branch out in that. But for right now, zombies kind of the fun thing to write in. So that's why I like it.
I would agree with that. Jeff, what about you, sir?
Well, as I said at the beginning of this thing, I started writing the zombie series out of a reaction to the fact that the Coast Guard was just never mentioned. I looked around. I couldn't find any Coast Guard oriented zombie fiction at all. And I know these guys. I know the kind of people who are in it. I mean, a year or so ago, they had a guy hop onto the back of a drug smuggling mini sub and knock. I know these guys. Those are the kind of people I want watching my back in a zombie apocalypse. So I said, nobody else has done it. What the hell? I will.
Absolutely. Scott,
Jeff,
what about you, sir?
I put some
go ahead.
posties in my second book on my Wreckers Apocalypse series. They saved the main characters. They were in a dolphin helicopter, and they came in and saved them. So I'm trying to help out.
You're the man. You're the man.
I love writing zombies because there's no limit. You can do whatever you want to a zombie. You can make them as gross and disgusting as you want. You can have them eat people in the most disgusting manners, and the fans love it. They want more. My challenge is every book, seeing if I can up the gore factor from the book before.
You always got to take it to the next level. Otherwise, you're just not going to the extra mile. It's kind of like going to an Alice Cooper show. If you go to watch Alice Cooper, expect the next show to knock that show off the shelf, because he always has to outdo himself every time. And I love his concerts just for that reason, because you never know what's going to happen next. Shawn, what about you, sir?
I saw the Romero's Night of the Living Dead when I was 12, so it's probably 1980 or something like that, and that's what gave me my love for zombies. And then I read The Stand and Lucifer's Hammer. The literature got me into the PA, and I just felt like I had to mix the two. That's what started me on wanting to write a zombie book.
Stephen, you
I was when I started reading, it seemed to always be zombie books I read, and I've got thousands on my Kobo and even more on my Amazon, the Kindle thing, and that's what got me into it. I was just reading zombie all the time. I very rarely read anything else at the time. So, and when I did, it was maybe fantasy. I love fantasy as well, but when I was reading zombies, it was just constant zombie for about years, and that's what got me into wanting to try it myself.
Well, that's kind of what got me into it too, was watching zombie movies and reading other authors. Like I think one of the first books I read was J.L. Bourne, Day by Day Armageddon, and then of course I read Max Brooks. But I kind of stumbled across J.L. Bourne's Day by Day Armageddon by accident. Somebody mentioned it on Facebook, and it sounded kind of cool, so I read it. And then I showed it to, and at the time I was a deputy still, and I showed it to several of the guys I worked with, and that led to the conversation that we were having one night over coffee. A bunch of us with no calls, nothing really going on. We were sitting around having coffee, and one of them goes, "What would we do if zombies hit here?" And most of us were like, "Oh, you're bullshit. What are you talking about?" He goes, "No, seriously, if zombies hit Springfield, what would we do?" And that conversation got me to thinking about it so much. I went home the next morning and started Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird how little things like that. I mean, I just couldn't quit thinking about it.
I've got a photo here of that. I've got a photo here of that scene I was telling you about earlier. If you want to see it with the snails,
I
don't know if you'll be able to see it or not.
Oh.
That's it written. And the one there's one in the background there. The one up there, he's actually holding an arm and he's smooth.
I'm telling you, that'll make you want to carry a big thing of salt with you everywhere you go.
It makes me think of Slither. Like, it's been so long since I've seen that movie, but oh god, I loved it. But yeah, that was awesome.
That the snail thing kind of creeps me out. I hate snails anyway. In Missouri, I don't know about where you guys are from, but in Missouri, when it comes to spring and summer, you out on the back porch, you don't dare go out with no shoes on because you're liable to step on a slug, which is like essentially just a homeless snail. And I keep a great big thing of Morton salt on the back porch so I can salt the crap out of them. They creep me out. I hate them. Anybody got any questions that you'd like to ask before I pick another one?
No.
Alrighty. What's your favorite zombie movie? Shawn?
I'd have to say Zack Snyder's 2004 remake of Dawn of the Dead. That first scene with Johnny Cash, the man comes around. It made it for me. I don't care if they're fast, and they're not Romero zombies. It's still that movie really holds me.
I did like that one. Ving Rhames is a great one. Yeah, that was a good movie.
Great,
Stephen?
Great.
I actually like the first version of it, but I like that one as well, the 2004 version. I'd say the two of them. I like the first one. That's the one that got me film wise. That's the one that got me liking watching zombies. So I would say that one.
It's a great choice. Scott, what about you?
Mine is a tie between Dawn of the Dead 2004 and Resident Evil. But there's a very warm place in my heart for an old 1970s schlock classic, Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things.
I remember that movie.
That was the first zombie movie I ever saw. And I was probably like about 10 at the time. And that thing just hooked me in. And after that, I was a zombie fan for life.
Jeff?
Well, I gotta go with Romero's original, Night of the Living Dead, because it was just such a watershed moment. But I really like the more twisted ones, like Return of the Living Dead, Shaun of the Dead, Scout's Guide to the Apocalypse. I love the more that kind of turn the genre around on its head.
Absolutely. Bethany?
Oh, you can't pick one. Like,
It's like a good potato chip. You can't just get one.
Well, it's the mood that you're in too. Like, okay, I'll just name off some like my top ones. I love Zombieland. I love World War Z as a standalone. Like, don't compare it to the book, just as a standalone movie. I like that as the movie. I love The Crazies. That was really good. Now that I thought about Slither, I'm like thinking of that. So that was a good one. Yeah, those are kind of, and Train to Busan. Like, you can't, like, that's the top one. I love Train to Busan. Not the sequel, but I like the first one.
One of my earliest memories of seeing anything to do with zombies, and I was pretty young, and it's not a classic zombie. It was the zombie episode of Kolchak the Night Stalker. Yes. When he's trying to sew its lips shut and the eyes pop open, that makes me jump even now, every single time. I mean, I know it's going to happen, and I still jump. I love the writing in that, and Darren McGavin was perfect. So that, I think that was really my first real taste of zombies, but it wasn't your traditional zombie. It was more of a voodoo zombie, but still an excellent episode of that show. Oh, we just lost Shawn.
Huh.
And we got a question from Naoma Finn in the audience. It says, "What's your least favorite?" That's a good follow up to that. What is your least favorite zombie film? Bethany, go ahead.
Oh, I can't think of the name, but it's this one where they're in like the South Africa somewhere, and it's a guy who's flying a plane, and he lands. Maybe he's flying a plane. I don't know. I kind of passed out watching it. That's why it's my least favorite. But I can't think of the name of it. But it was so boring. And yes, they were zombies, but it was just, I think he was trying to focus on character development, and it just was not developing for me. So if I find the name, I'll tell you. But I can't even remember the name.
It was so bad you don't even remember the name, which is probably for the best. I
was like, nope, not happening.
Steven, same question. What is your least favorite zombie film?
I can't mind the name of it myself either, but it was one that I bought it the other week on DVD, and it's got Danny Trejo in it.
Well, there you go, right there.
They go to Alcatraz in it and all that sort of stuff, but it's not very good. I think I watched about 45 minutes or something, and then just turned it off. It was that bad.
I've seen a few like that. Shawn, what's your least favorite zombie film?
There's so many.
There's a lot of bad ones.
There's so many. Oh man, shoot. I don't know. My least favorite series. I tried to watch Z Nation. I tried to like it, and I couldn't.
That show was stupid.
To watch what?
Z Nation on Sci-Fi.
Oh,
I tried so hard to.
You got to be in a mood to watch that.
You got to be stoned to watch that.
I mean, I don't want to go there.
It's like trying to watch Pink Floyd's The Wall sober. It just doesn't really work.
No.
Scott, what would you say your least favorite is?
I can't say least favorite because there's so much zombie crap out there. The most disappointing was The Dead Don't Die with Bill Murray.
Oh, gosh, yes.
I expected that movie to be a riot. Even my wife, who doesn't like zombies, wanted to go see it. And like halfway through the movie, it was like, oh, my God. There was Sharknado Film Festival somewhere.
Yeah.
My kids didn't want to finish it. I took them to the theater to see it. They didn't want to finish it.
Jeff, what about you? Least favorite zombie film?
I'm with Scott. I mean, there's so many B zombie movies that should have never seen the light of day. But for the A-list ones, it would have to be The Dead Don't Die. That how you can make a movie with that cast boring. I have no idea, but they managed it somehow.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think my least favorite in the quote unquote zombie genre have you ever seen the movie Zombievers?
Yeah.
I watched it. Was popped up on my suggestion on I think it was on Amazon one night. I'm like, hey, what the hell? I'm home alone. And the wife was gone with her mother, and my sons were gone. So I was just sitting in there in the recliner, flipped it on. I made it about 15 minutes into that. I'm like, wow, I feel dumber for having even watched this, and turned it off.
I think that ranked up there with Roadkill. About every animal that got run over in a state park came back as a zombie.
I saw one recently. Not quite a zombie movie, but I watched Attack of the Killer Donuts.
I've heard of that.
Believe it or not, it's a pretty damn good movie. It's right up there with Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, only more disgusting. I recommend it just for the entertainment value. Attack of the Killer Donuts. It's on Amazon.
Or like Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's so bad, it's good.
Oh,
Yes,
don't even.
yes.
That's that one there I was talking about. It's called Rise of the Zombies. Danny Trejo's in it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not it's no good.
Hadley Thorne asks, as a creator, do you feel that these movies are a failure due to their director or the budget restrictions? Bethany?
That's a good question.
I would have to say director. Like, a good director will be able to create something out of his budget, I figure. I'm not a director, so obviously I'm not a professional in that, but I would think, like, if you're a good director, you could create a vision within your budget.
You'd think, yeah. Jeff, what about you? What do you think?
It's got to be a combination of the two. I mean, you can as Brittany said, if you've got a decent director, you can kind of make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, but not really. I mean, if you don't have the budget, there's only so much you can do.
I would argue that, though. I mean, I've seen some movies with tremendous budgets that were absolute crap.
Yes.
The Transformers comes to mind. Those movies were terrible. And and as much as I like Mark Wahlberg and other things, the addition of Mark Wahlberg did not save that franchise. Michael Bay had all the money in the world to throw at those movies and couldn't make a good movie.
But some of those
Scott,
things, like the third Alien movie, that had the budget, it had a good director, but it was created by committee. That's the Hollywood way of doing things. They didn't even have a complete script when they started shooting. So that was just an unqualified mess, but it wasn't really the director's fault.
They needed to stop at Aliens. That was the best. The best.
I agree.
So good.
Yeah.
Scott, what do you think? Budget or director?
Partly director, mostly script writers.
Yes.
I mean, some of those scripts they come up with are crap. You know, I mean, those things wouldn't even make it on Amazon Indie Publishing. If you've got a horrendous script, a director can't do anything with it.
You have a good point. Shawn?
I'd have to say just the sheer volume, the budget, all the low budget ones. If it doesn't have any value, production value for me, I turn it off pretty darn quick. World War Z, phenomenal. It wasn't the book, but the production value was phenomenal. Even Army of the Dead, I kind of had a lot of problems with the story, but it was eye candy, so I was engrossed because they spent a lot of money on it.
They did spend a lot of money on it. Stephen, what do you think?
I would say the director. I would probably say the director. Budget wise, I mean, you could, like you say, you could if you should be able to make something with a light budget that should be at least half watchable. But some of these movies you see like that one I'm talking about, they must have had some budget in it because some of the actors in it are well known. So they've had the money to get the actors, but the film's bad. So you would imagine it's the director that must have known what he was doing or something, I suppose. One of the ones.
Yeah. Well, there's also bad casting can ruin a movie.
So
I think a prime example of budget versus director is look what happened with World War Z. They even when they gave an advanced screening to Max Brooks, he watched the movie before it was released. His comment was, "Well, they used my title," because if you read World War Z before seeing the movie, you were completely disappointed. There are people that like the movie, and if you take the movie and examine it as a completely separate entity, has a commonality in name only, then it's an okay movie. But if you go in that movie expecting the book, you're going to be completely disappointed. And they had a lot of issues in the production of that. In fact, if you're paying attention, you can pretty well spot the moment they fired the first writer. And it's the scene when they get to Israel. It's when the movie tone shifts just kind of drastically. And it's had a lot of problems, and I don't think they should have rushed it as much as they did. I think they could have fixed it, and I think if they'd have stuck closer to the actual book as written, it would have been a much better film. But that's just me, and I don't know whether that was a director's choice or the writer's choice, but they literally, as Max Brooks said, they just used the title.
I feel like World War Z kind of fell into the same thing as The Mummy with Tom Cruise, but with Brad Pitt. Like they kind of started putting their hands into it and trying to switch it up on how they wanted it versus what was originally intended for it. So I think once actors start getting involved in it that much, then it can kind of turn a movie off or on.
I think the best way to make a movie is have the script writers or even have the author write the script, but have the script writers make sure they have to follow the book and then keep the writer of the book on as a creative consultant. Because if you're banking on making a big budget blockbuster, sorry to say that 5 times fast, but if you're banking on making a big budget blockbuster out of a book that is hugely successful, the people that were the driving force behind making that book successful are not going to be happy if you don't make it loyal to the book. And that's just my 2 cents. Take it for what it is, the ramblings of a hillbilly. But I just think if you don't follow the book, you're completely doing a disservice of what made the project loved in the first place.
To Stephen's point, how about Battery? Has anyone seen Battery? That was a low budget, really good movie. Really
well, Boondock Saints had next to no budget, and that was a great movie.
It can be done now.
Hadley Soren says, we recently interviewed Glenn Miller, and he explained how the Aquarium of the Dead budget kept getting cut, and I felt for the guy. He directed both Zombies 1 and 2, and they were much better. She's got a point.
Yeah, I was involved in that. Me and Alan interviewed the guy. And you could tell he had the same script writer for Zombies 1 and 2, completely different guy for Aquarium of the Dead. The budget went from, halfway decent in Zombies 1 to like half of it in Zombies 2 to like a fraction of it in Aquarium of the Dead. By the time I got to Aquarium of the Dead, even though I thought the script was crap, they couldn't do the effect shots they wanted to. They couldn't do practical effects because they didn't have any time. They shot the movie in 6 days because that's all they had time in the budget for. There's only so much you could do in 6 days.
True.
So it's
Bethany?
sometimes you're a victim of the people who are paying the bills.
True. Bethany, would you do me a favor? Could you take over as host for about 2 minutes so I can run across the hall to the restroom?
Okay.
I drank a big cup of coffee and I'm about to die.
No, you're good.
I will be right back.
All right. Well, I'll answer this question from Neoma. She said they wanted to know if the movie I was talking about was The Dead. And I Googled it, and I think it was that movie. It was just like a South African guy who crashed a plane, and he was just walking across Africa, pretty much, occasionally running into zombies. So yeah, I think that was it. So
It wasn't an exciting movie.
no.
But I read an interview with the director, and he said that his goal was to show that you couldn't even slow down. You didn't have to run to get away from them, but you couldn't. They were everywhere. If you slow down to take a nap, to take a rest, one of them would catch up with you. But it was a good concept, but the movie did get kind of boring.
Yeah. I guess that kind of brings us to a question we could talk about in just general and horror stuff. What's something that kind of bugs you about horror films? Like, for instance, a lot of people talk about how like the main killer just walks and people are running away from them, but somehow the main killer still catches up to them just walking. So what's like a main nitpick about horror in general that kind of bugs you guys?
Screaming,
when the main character. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Screaming,
sorry, Scott.
weak women that just fall apart at the seams. The guys have to save them. They go running through the house.
Yeah,
I hate that crap. You know, give me an Alice, give me an Anna from Van Helsing any day of the week.
Or Sigourney Weaver from Aliens.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
When they assume the villain or the monster is dead and they don't finish him off, cut that fucking head off.
It's that
man.
double tap. What was it? Rule 2?
Double tap, cut the head off, do something. Burn
Anything
it.
worth shooting is worth shooting twice.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, I
have to bounce,
the
you guys.
predictability of them.
I'm gonna have to bounce. It's been really fun, Scott.
Sean, thank you for
Sean,
coming,
good
man.
seeing ya.
Thank you for hanging out with us.
Bethany.
Yeah,
Thanks,
take
you
it
guys.
easy, man.
Blast.
Yeah, it's the predictability of most of these horror movies. I mean, you know, in the first reel of a slasher movie, you know who's gonna live. It's the girl who doesn't put out. You know when they're walking down a dark hallway and the creepy music is playing, you know something's about to happen. There's nothing terrifying about it. It's just annoying to me. And then you've got the screaming weak women and the imagination, people.
Hadley
Well,
says
that's
we're-
just one side. That was one of the things I loved about Scavini's remake of Night of the Living Dead with Patricia Tallman.
Mhm.
They took her from being the falling apart Barbara at the beginning to by the end of the movie, she was kicking zombie ass right and left and it toughened up. I love that portrayal of her.
Hadley Thorne says we're interviewing Hilton Ruiz, zombie with a shotgun, in a few weeks. So if you guys want to submit to him as a writer director, I'll gladly take them. Yeah, I would love to do that. Please, send me an offline. Send me a message on Facebook or something if I can find out what I need to do. Thank you. Yeah, I would love to do that.
This guy is an interesting story. He basically started from scratch. He did a short that he put up on YouTube and got crowdfunding and just grew this thing organically, not going in any way the traditional way. I'm really looking forward to finding out how this guy did it.
Sorry, I'm trying to do 5 things at once. I appreciate you guys, and thank you everybody for bearing with me. And Bethany, thank you. I need to watch my coffee intake prior to a show. Apparently, I'm old. I can't help it. Here's a good question for everybody. What inspires you? Bethany, let's start with you.
You know, I like the feeling of the unknown. So I like that feeling after I watch a scary movie that makes me afraid to go into a dark room or afraid to open my eyes. So I want to carry on that feeling for other people. If I can have someone just kind of look over their shoulder real quick or not want to look in that dark corner, then I feel I've done my job. So I want to carry on that feeling.
That's a great motivator right there. I like that. Stephen, you? What about you? What motivates you or inspires you?
To make something, the next book, the readers will jump more and more for every scene. I'm going to try and make every scene like how far can you go sort of thing. How far can you push it? In the first book, I don't think I put enough gore in it. I don't that sort of thing. So the next one, I'm going to add more gore. I'm going to do that sort of stuff. Make it more, because it's a zombie book. It's obviously, I'm thinking in my head, I better not do that. I better not do that. But then I know I'm going to do that. So it's, instead of just thinking, oh, you shouldn't do it, just put things in it.
I totally get that. Scott, what about you?
I'm a storyteller. I love writing stories. I love coming up. When I get an idea, I like to run with it. And I'm hoping that, and so far it seems to be panning out, that the readers love my stories too. You know, I don't put politics, social media, anything like that in them. It's just fun. And it, you know, gets me away from the television, from the news for a few hours. And if it gives the readers a chance to get away and forget everything that's going on, then I've done my job.
Jeff, what about you, sir?
This is going to sound like I'm blowing smoke and sunshine up everybody's butt. But seriously, what really inspires me is things like this. It's surrounding myself with smart, funny, creative people. It sparks something inside my brain, and just, I love it.
I would agree. I've actually thought about, I know this is the second time we've done this zombie roundtable, but I've actually thought about trying to talk to people and see if we could do this on a monthly basis. Both these times we've done this has just been kind of thrown together. I post something in the zombie army like, hey, who'd be interested, and we end up doing the show. But I would like to do something that's a little more permanent, where we can do a round robin like this and do a theme each show. You know, almost like a zombie book club, so to speak. Not necessarily that we'd be talking about a particular book, but where we would talk about different aspects of writing, and we could even take questions from prospective writers. But if you guys would be interested at some point, I would definitely like to do this more often than just, here and there.
Sure.
That
sounds fun.
Well, I know we got to be keeping Steven up pretty late, because he's definitely on a different time schedule than the rest of us.
I was going to say it's 3:30 in the morning, and where am I?
Yeah, I know we got you up pretty late. If you any point you need to go, or if you need us to start earlier, we can probably do that. I mean, we could probably start at 5 or 6, Central Time, which would be still closer to midnight for you, but at least it's not 3 or 4 in the morning.
Aye, we could do that noon again. Aye.
So we'll plan on the next time we do it. We'll do it a little earlier.
That'd be great.
I'm really thrilled with the turnout we've had, folks. You guys are awesome.
Thanks for doing this.
Oh, no problem. Thank you guys for coming. I mean, I do a regular show on Saturdays called DAX Machina, and it's more of a one-on-one thing where I'll have an author on. But these round robin discussions are just a lot of fun. And I'm not trying to run anybody off or tell anybody, and I want to cut it short or anything like that. I just wanted to take a moment and thank everybody, because this is a hell of a lot of fun, and I enjoy doing it. And it gets us a chance to not only exchange ideas, but to share audiences, because I don't know about you guys, but I don't see writing as a competition. I know some people do. I'm a firm believer that when the tide comes in, all boats should rise. I think when one of us is doing well, we should all be doing well, because when we encourage readers, we all win. And I definitely hope anybody out there that's a fan of my books will check out everybody's books that have been on the shows tonight, because I'm familiar with most of them. I haven't read everybody, unfortunately. I only have so much time, and I do keep a pretty intense writing schedule. But I do still get a book in a week if I can, and I'm definitely going to be adding a lot of names to the list. And those different takes, not just on the zombie apocalypse, but those different takes on horror or any genre, really. Every time you read a different author, it broadens your writing chops just a little bit more. And you can't be a successful, prolific writer if you're not also a reader. At least that's always been my experience.
That's true. Now, Scott and I have been doing this over in the Written Horrors. We're doing this thing called The Haunted Library. We're up to number 12. Will be next weekend. And it's been just like this. It's been a blast. We get a bunch of different authors together and talk horror, talk zombies, talk God knows what else. It's been a blast.
Go off topic quite a bit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it goes off the rails pretty much from the word go, but it's fun.
Yeah, that's the same way with my show, DAX Machina. And in fact, this Saturday night, I will have Bethany on the DAX Machina show. So it's going to be a little more focused just on her. And I like that approach as well, because we get to ask questions that you don't really ask to a big group. And, we do go off the rails. We'll start talking about, like things that scared us as a kid, or ghost stories, or just anything like that could pop up at any given time. Plus, we've always got interaction from the from the audience, and I love that about it. And I'm just really, really thrilled to be a part of it. I mean, I'm still kind of awestruck sometimes. Like last week, we had Jonathan Mayberry on the show, and I was astounded that him to have somebody that's had as much success as Jonathan Mayberry on the show was huge. And he's just a great guy. I mean, I've met people, celebrities, that acted like they were so much better than everybody, but Jonathan Mayberry was doing the exact same thing we're doing here. We just talked and laughed and talked about them things we'd done and talked about books, and I learned a lot from the guy, and I have over the years. And he's one of those guys that I've always been able to send a message to, and he would answer me. So I've been fortunate about that. And anybody out there that knows me knows that if they've got a question, be it about writing or anything in general, shoot me a message. It might take me a little bit to get back to you, depending on whether or not it goes to my author page, because the messenger system through Facebook's pages sucks. Because I may or may not get the message for a few days. But I will always try to answer, and I'm sure everybody that's been here tonight is the same way. I know I've asked a lot of questions of Shawn Chesser and Alan Gamboa, and I'm sure at some point I'll ask you guys as well. I mean, the circle grows. The more people we know, the better the circle.
Yep. Alan and I just started doing this thing over in Weird Realities called Watching Weird, where we just do horror movie reviews. Mm-hmm. Just had fun with it. Last time we did Aquarium of the Dead and Psycho Gorman, and it was a blast. It was a lot of fun, and from that, all of a sudden we get messages from Glenn R. Miller, the guy who directed Aquarium of the Dead. We get this guy, this Ruiz guy, who wants to talk to us. So this stuff it's a lot of fun, which is why I do it, but it's also a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you folks, but I think we've covered everything we set out to cover. And at this point, we can just turn it over to the audience. If you guys have got questions you want to ask us, if any of you would like to join in the studio and talk with us, I can send you a link. At this point, like I said, we've covered most of the questions I had written down. We've covered quite a few questions from the crowd, but now we're here for you folks. Now is the part of the show where we just kind of kick back and relax a little bit and have a good time and a little less structured. And it's one of my favorite parts of the show because we talk about different stories and crazy things. Like, for example, I would just say, has anybody ever had a cryptid experience?
Everybody talk at once.
Yeah,
no, I never had one.
How about a ghost story?
I did have one, and I don't know if it was exactly a ghost story or it was just a coincidental meteorological phenomenon. But we were on the island of Saipan when I was in the Coast Guard. And Saipan is part of the Marianas Islands. It's Guam, Saipan, and Tinian. Saipan, when the Marines went to take it from the Japanese had told the civilians that the Marines were going to eat them. So as the Marines were marching onto the island, the civilians who lived on Saipan were throwing themselves off this cliff. rather than captured by the U.S. Marines, because they bought into what the Japanese were telling them. So several years later, decades later, me and some of the boys rented a car, filled the trunk full of beer, and then drove up to Suicide Cliff with the idea of camping. And this is, it's the tropics. It's warm, it's great, no problem. You can sleep outside, it's wonderful. We weren't there more than an hour, and the weather just turned cold. I mean, bitter cold. So I don't know if this was the ghost of all those people who committed suicide, or we just had bad luck with the weather. But it was creepy. That's my ghost story.
That is really cool. Huh?
Well, I do have some stories, but I'm going to leave it as a teaser for Saturday night.
Awesome.
Because I do have to get going.
Yeah, I got your message. I was getting ready to lead up to that, but I kind of forgot about it. Sorry about that.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast as usual.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good talking with all you guys again.
Well, thank you for joining us, and I'll see you Saturday night.
Yep. See ya.
Have a great night.
Bye.
I don't have a ghost story that happened to me, but my last couple of years with the agency, I was part of a leadership team. And what we would do is we would go to Gettysburg, and each of us would discuss the leadership abilities of Robert E. Lee Chamberlain or somebody. And the guy who headed the program told a story, and I believed him because he was very serious. But in the 1990s, a Soviet delegation had been in the States, and they wanted to see Gettysburg. So everything was arranged. The park was closed down, and everybody was cleaned out. And they brought the bus of Soviet delegates in, and they were driving around, taking pictures from the bus. And when they got out, the head of the delegation had said, it was really great. Thank you for having that military encampment set up. It was wonderful watching them perform their drills in that. Problem was, the park had been cleared out. There was nobody there.
So they saw a phantom Civil War group.
They saw a phantom unit, yeah.
That's awesome. Oh, well, supposedly in the same park when they filmed the movie Gettysburg, when they had the picket line set up, one of the aides to the director was like lining up the shot. He's like, "Hey, tell the group down by the tree line to back up. They're a little too far forward." And they're like, "We don't have a group down by the tree line."
Yeah, there was a bit in, I think it was the book, the book from which they made We Were Soldiers, which is a true account of the first major engagement between U.S. forces and the North Vietnamese.
Great movie.
Great movie. During their training, they were in Pennsylvania, I guess, and they went to the Gettysburg battlefield, and they said it was all very spooky and ghosts and bizarre stuff. They didn't go into that much detail because it's a serious book about the Vietnam War, but they did mention it. And if you guys get a chance to hook up with Hadley and do interviews, do it. Absolutely do it.
I'm actually in the process of messaging her right now.
Go for it, man. Absolutely.
Sorry, I was doing 12 things at once. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Steven said he's going to have to go for the night. It's getting pretty late. Thank you for joining us from Scotland, our international contingent.
Right.
I love having you on the show, and you and I have messaged each other quite a few times. I would like to get you on my DAX Machina show. And
that's fine. That'd be good.
That would be I'll get back with you with a date, but we'll definitely get it done.
Go for that. That sounds good.
Thanks, man.
Right, thanks very much. See you later on, right, guys?
Have a great night.
Bye.
And now we're left with the hardcore.
Well, Scott says he's going to have to leave in about 5 minutes, so we're going to lose him soon.
My dogs are upstairs starting to complain. They haven't gone out for a while. So
I totally understand.
I'm actually surprised I'm not drooling on myself right now. I've spent the last week moving in this 100-degree Vegas heat, and it just. So maybe this is a good time to bid everybody adieu.
We are getting kind of late. I mean, it's not that late in my time, but I understand. But none of us are spring chickens anymore, and bedtime's probably looming close.
I don't go to bed till 4:00, so my night's just beginning.
Well, I understand the dog wanting out because my dog, I refer to him as Harley, the Wonder Dog. I think I've got a picture of him already lined up in the group pictures. I can always tell when he wants to go outside because he gives me this look.
Yeah.
And he won't go away.
Is he part pit bull?
Yeah, he's part pit. He was a rescue. He's about 6 years old now. He's a little idiot, but we love him.
My dog will sit there and start. And if I don't respond, the growling gets louder. Then he starts barking. Tail's wagging the whole time.
Yep.
Harley's like a disgruntled old man. When he wants to go outside, he'll look at you and go. You go, do you want to go outside?
Dogs are awesome. Hey, let's DA. We will have to get you onto the haunted library.
Oh, I am down. Shoot me a message. If we're not friends on Facebook, we need to be.
Yeah.
We need to make that happen. But I would love to do it. I'm always down for doing shows, and my wife says getting me to talk is easy. It's getting me to shut up that's the problem. So,
I mean, I started doing this stuff just as a marketing gimmick. The bottom line is I have fun. These things are fun to do.
Definitely. So we will have to do it again, and I'd like at some point to talk to both of you about having you individually on my DA Ex Machina show. But we'll do another round of the Zombie Roundtable coming up, probably sometime late July, because give everybody time to have their barbecues and family gatherings around the 4th. I don't want to do a show then, but sometime maybe late July, early August, we'll see about doing it again. And then maybe we can form a planning group about making this a semi-permanent monthly or at least monthly or bi-monthly occurrence, as I think it would be a lot of fun to do. We could have, like the lady that's commented here, Naomi Finn, she's a writer and an editor. So I would love to have her on, and she has a lot of creepy stories. I think it'd be great to have just cycle people in and out and have different writers and share different opinions. And I think it'd be a hell of a good time.
Yes, I do. I agree.
Well, gentlemen, I'll thank you guys for coming. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, and look for the Zombie Roundtable to happen again. We'll be, watch the my pages and all the other places where we announce these that we're going to be doing this again, hopefully soon, and we'll keep everybody posted. And I would love to do you guys your show. That would be awesome. And we'll see where it goes from here. I think.
All right,
cool.
As the expression goes, we can only go up from here. And I think we've made some great connections, and I like to think I've made some new friends, and definitely got some new books on the to be read pile. So
yes,
thank you guys for joining us, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate your questions, appreciate you all, and enjoy the creepiness in life, because that's what we're all here about: the creepy stories, the horror stories, and our love of zombies. So thank you for joining us, and hope you guys have a great night.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you for having us. Take it easy.